Alright, what's going on, y'all? Hope everything sounds alright. Again, I'm doing the scuff setup today. Um, I'll put some music on. Just give me 1 second here. Sorry, that was really loud. Alright. I don't know if y'all can see, but I am on dog duty tonight, so it looks like you actually can't see that. Oh, no, now you can. So, if you do hear barking, I do apologize, as I am on dog duty. So, I'm gonna have to be taking care of them if something does happen. But just bear with me. I do appreciate if you do bear with me on that. Um, yeah, we're going to talk a lot about this Blazers win. I think this is a very solid win, in my opinion. And I also think it was a very important win for the Bulls to get, honestly. And I think also just there's a lot of positives that I saw in this one. Um, Sorry, I'm trying to get this music to just be a little bit quieter. There we go. And then after that, we're going to really dive into the trade deadline because I have some ideas kind of rolling in my head. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter that I think is actually something that we should all be kind of looking at right now. I do want to talk about the Kyrie Irving situation and how it does not relate to the Bulls and how it does relate to the Bulls. So definitely be around for that part because I do think that's something important for us Bulls fans to look over. And then we'll just kind of go from there. I'm going to let chat kind of dictate a lot of the stuff tonight, and I'm pretty sure a lot of Bulls fans want to talk about the trade deadline, which is obviously, what now, 5 days away? So, yeah, there's going to be, I'm going to guess that there is going to be some movement here by the Bulls coming up in the next few days or so, but we'll talk about if there's going to be actually some major moves because it doesn't look like there's going to be, but I want to talk about some moves that I think are very valuable that could help this team again, not just for now, but for the future. Okay. I think when we talk about moves for the Bulls for not just for this season, it can't just be for this season, right? The Bulls are not going to be trading for a rental in a sense. Okay. So we have to understand that because the Bulls are not going to be trading for a rental, we have to look at some trades here that are going to help this Bulls team long term and help them out moving forward. So I have some trades that I think are overall solid. Um, and I think that it kind of checks off both those boxes where it can help this Bulls team now, but it can also help this Bulls team later on down the road, and that's the more important part about it. But first things first, we gotta talk about this Portland Trailblazers game. What a hectic game this was. I thought this was just a very chaotic filled game, in my opinion. I was very concerned that Alex Caruso was out. I was thinking to myself, man, if Alex Caruso is going to be out for this one, the Bulls are really going to have a tough time with Damian Lillard. And obviously Caruso got hurt in the last game, but this was like one of those games where it's like, holy crap, we need Alex Caruso in this one, or else Lillard's gonna have a field day. So of course Lillard gets off to a very hot start, and I'm like, oh my god, he's going for 60. But the Bulls got off to also a very good start overall as a team. We saw Zach get off to I think a 15-point first quarter. He kind of led the charge, but I was just thoroughly impressed with like how everything was moving in that Bulls offense. The ball was moving very, very well, and I was also very impressed by their shot selection. I saw the Bulls take a lot more threes, in my opinion, that were the right shots, right? Instead of seeing the Bulls taking some post-up opportunities or some mid-range shots, I saw the Bulls in that first quarter. They were shooting analytically the better shots. They were shooting a lot of three-point shots. There were some catch-and-shoot shots for Zach LaVine that was off of three. That was 4 3 points. Like those are the types of looks that I'm like, yes, we need to continue seeing this from this Bulls team. We cannot be running through the post consistently. We can't be taking these mid-range shots all the time. And that was the first quarter. But then that second quarter, it all flipped on its head. Bulls defense was suddenly very poor against Damian Lillard. It wasn't good in the first place, but we saw a lot of what the Bulls season has been this year, which was the simple, well, if the Portland Trailblazers are making threes, then I guess we have to respond with the two. And again, simple math, threes are more than twos. Okay, so for the Bulls to just only come down and then shoot a two and hope that's going to be enough, like, it just shows you that in that second quarter, it's a serious issue, right? We can't be continuously just shooting twos, shooting post up, shooting mid range, right? And I understand DeMar DeRozan is the mid range master. I'm fine with him shooting mid range, but I'm talking about the others, man. Like we can't be consistently just relying on the 2.18 footer to keep us in games. When we're seeing the opposing team put up a 43-point quarter on us, like our response is, oh, we'll shoot twos, and we put up 25 points. This just shows you the issue with this Bulls team. And yes, there's player personnel issues with this Bulls team for sure, hence the lack of 3-point shooting. But I also think that we as Bulls fans are thinking some things wrong. A lot of analysts that are covering the Bulls, they're thinking about it wrong, and I do think that Billy Donovan is also a kind of an issue in this as well, where it's like the Bulls are not shooting throughout the entire game the right shots, right? There are moments where we look good, but then there are moments we look really bad. So that second quarter to me is just a prime example of the Bulls shooting twos when Portland's going off with their 3-point barrage and them getting to the free throw line. They're getting into the paint. They're not shooting mid-range, okay? So I was very disappointed with that second quarter by the Bulls. But I think the Bulls made up for it with the rest of the game. I thought that the Bulls came out in that third quarter. It was very interesting. The Bulls seemed like they were doing everything right. We saw them get out into the open court, try to force Portland to play a little bit faster in the transition game. And I know the Bulls that was correct. I thought that was overall good, but the Bulls defensively looked pretty good to start the quarter, but the Bulls weren't capitalizing on the other end, and then Lillard hits a big three, and the Bulls are suddenly they're down by 18, I believe. But I always just find it so interesting. At that moment when the Bulls went down by whatever 16, 18, whatever it was, Billy Donovan then took out DeMar DeRozan and took out Nikola Vucevic, and he solely just relied on a group of guards and Andre Drummond. Okay. So this to me shows you, like, I think that third quarter is the prime definition of what I want this Bulls team to do. We saw Ayo Dosunmu in that third quarter hit 3 threes. We saw Zach LaVine in that third quarter pull out in transition, getting to the basket throughout the entire quarter, and then later in that third quarter he hit some threes. Okay, like that shows you the type of game that I want this Bulls team to play. They were solid defensively in that little stretch, but they were also analytically taking the best shots. There's no post-ups. It was all pick and roll in the half court, but then in transition, the Bulls were getting into the paint and then kicking it back out for 3-point shots, and no one was hesitating on the 3-point shots. That's how you play in today's modern-day basketball. That's how it's supposed to go, okay? So I want the Bulls to continue that, right, in that sort of style of play. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that when Vucevic and DeRozan went out, that the Bulls suddenly were able to play that style of play and hence able to get back into this game suddenly. And I was very pleased to see how that third quarter happened. And I was very, very happy to see the Bulls respond in this one. I will say, though, that I think that while it was great to see the Bulls respond in that third quarter, and even though they were down by, I believe, 16 or 18, I also think that it also showed you why Portland's a bad team. Lillard was off the court during most of that little stretch where the Bulls came back, and it shows you that Simons, Grant, like, while they're decent players, they're not enough to carry an offense. And then Nurkic wasn't playing today, so obviously that's been an issue. But I think Drew Eubanks has actually been the better player over Nurkic this year, honestly. But again, it just shows you that Portland does not have enough, and their hands are pretty tied when it comes to trying to fix this roster. And Lillard being out, we just saw the Bulls go on an absolute tear of a run. I believe it was a 22-4 run to end that third quarter for the Bulls, and just shows you that's how you're supposed to play in modern day basketball, but also shows you that Lillard being off the court, the Portland Trailblazers are just they're all over the place. They don't know what to do. And I'm glad the Bulls capitalized, because they could have 100% not capitalized on that, on that little cold stretch by the Blazers, but they capitalized. That fourth quarter, I do think that the defense, unfortunately, so Kendall Gill's going to say that the defense was good in that fourth quarter. I actually thought the Bulls were trapping Lillard at the end of the second quarter and most of the third quarter. We saw Lillard get off some big time shots in that fourth quarter, and he was getting easily into the lane. And that just shows you that the Bulls defense in that fourth quarter, I thought, actually kind of slowed down a little bit. The guys weren't getting over screens as good. Also, again, it hurts that Alex Caruso wasn't out there, because when Io was off the court, we saw that the Bulls really struggled to stay in front of Lillard, and even Io was having issues with Lillard in the first half. But I thought Io did a phenomenal job in that third quarter. So his minutes when he was off the court, which I believe was 3 minutes heading into that fourth quarter, the first 3 minutes, we saw Lillard just absolutely go on a tear and keep basically the Blazers in it. And I think, honestly, the Bulls won that fourth quarter offensively. It wasn't defensively for the Bulls in that fourth quarter. It was offense. We saw Levine, Vucevic, and DeRozan all they looked in sync on offense, and it shows you again that the Bulls, they were basically trapping Lillard throughout that entire second quarter. They started to kind of fail towards the end of that fourth quarter, but it showed that the others for Portland weren't able to step up. Simons hit some threes, but I think that was the only guy that was actually able to take advantage when Lillard was being trapped or blitzed off the pick and roll, right? If it wasn't Lillard scoring or Simons hitting a couple open 3-point shots, Josh Hart, Jeremy Grant, Nasir Little, others, like they could not cash in on Lillard's penetration, okay? Which shows you that, again, Portland has a ways to go in terms of what they want to try to do. So I think the Bulls in general they outscored the Blazers in that fourth quarter. The defense again slowed down to start that fourth quarter. There were a few key defensive stops here and there, but offensively I think the Bulls they just took over in that fourth quarter, and I was pleasantly surprised. Analytically, again, there's some stuff that I'm like a little upset about in that fourth quarter in terms of shot selection, but overall it was solid, and I'm not gonna complain too much about it. Again, I can live with DeRozan taking mid-range shots, but like he's the only guy that I think should be taking 4 to 5 mid-range shots a game, okay? Or more than 4 to 5 mid-range shots a game, but no one else on this team honestly should be taking more than 3 mid-range shots in a game. I mean, Zach should I think at most have 3. And that's only when it's necessary. But these Vooch post-ups, man, I'm upset hearing Stacey King continually to call for it. I'm overall I'm done with it, but it is what it is, and Stacey King's gonna live in the 90s, and he has every right to do so. But I hope that the Bulls, like, as much as I thought that Vooch was like he passed up some open layups tonight, I thought his shot selection overall was better where he wasn't in the post tonight, and I'm happier overall that he just wasn't in the post. We saw a few post-ups in that fourth quarter. He got blocked by Jeremy Grant on the post-up. Okay, shows you again the post-up is just not something we want to do. But overall, I'm going to be pretty much all right with Vooch's shot selection, except for a few mid-range shots and then that one post-up in that fourth quarter. So I just need to see better overall shot selection moving forward from this team for me to start kind of believing in them and believing in their offense, because this Portland Trailblazers team, they are not a good defensive team. They have struggled mightily defensively, but I've also seen this Bulls team really struggle to score against any team, no matter how bad their defense is. So seeing 129 points tonight on 60% shooting is overall good. I want to see more 3-point attempts from this Bulls team. They only shot 26. I thought Patrick Williams passed up, I think, on 3-point attempts tonight. He's got to take them, okay? He's got to do a much better job at that. I like the free throw attempts, though. 25 attempts for the free throw line. That's great. That's analytically a good offensive system, so that's good. But increase those 3-point attempts, eliminate those mid-range attempts, eliminate those post-ups. I think then this Bulls team, even though with a bad personnel, even with less 3-point shooting than what we would like, they can still look a lot better offensively if they just start taking the better shots. And I hope that we as Bulls fans can start, acknowledging that this is how we're supposed to play modern day basketball, right? And again, the post up, There's a reason why it is very infrequently used. Okay, the Bulls they average the most points per possession per post up in the NBA out of all the teams, but we still only use the post up I believe 6% of the time. There's a reason why. Okay, and I also don't think it's a shocker to see that the Bulls are a bottom 15 offense, but they post up them like they're one of the teams that post ups the most. Okay, I don't think that's a coincidence. So let's get rid of the post up and let's start moving forward with some better shot selection moving forward from here. Let's go on to our King. Good to see you. Yeah, we saw some good stuff from the Bulls today. I agree the shot selection was much better than in some games that we've seen overall this season, and I do agree with you that you hate hearing it's a simple game. Not really. Yeah, if just like you said, if Vooch scored in the post like literally every time, then yes, I would be calling to throw the ball to Vucevic in the post. But I think if anything should show you that Vooch should not be posting up. Joel Embiid averages more points per possession per post up than Nikola Vucevic, and he posts up less than Vucevic per game. Okay, his post ups are less frequent than Vucevic. So if Joel Embiid, who's again averaging more points per post up than Vucevic per game, is posting up less than Nikola Vucevic, I think that should tell you that Nikola Vucevic should not be posting up more than Joel Embiid. At the very least, he should not be posting up more than Joel Embiid. He should probably be posting up a lot less than Joel Embiid, because very clearly one's a better skilled player on the post. I'm not, trying to shade Vucevic too much. He is a very skilled player in the post, but his overall skill is just not good enough for me to be like, yeah, let's continuously call plays for him throughout the entire game. I don't understand it. But Stacey King again is going to live in the 90s. He wants to do that, and he has every right to do so. But I'm here to say let's not do that. I don't want to do that anymore. Dan, we are officially from field goal, attempts, 3-point, and free throw. Turn the game off after the beginning of the third quarter. Now we won. Yeah. I honestly thought the Bulls were done in that third quarter when they got down by, I believe, 19. I could be wrong, 18, whatever it was. But when Lillard checked out is when the Bulls came back. That's when the Bulls really started to come back, and I'm really happy to see the Bulls take advantage when Lillard was off the court. So good stuff there. Again, so yes, the Bulls were very efficient overall from the field. 60% is obviously great. Free throws were obviously very solid, but yes, we were efficient from 3-point range. But to me, I want to see more shots, because if you're shooting 46% in a game, like again, shoot more threes. Is the percentage going to go down? Sure, but if that means that you make 16 threes, 17 threes, it's worth it in the end. Like, if your percentage goes down to 35%, but you made 6 more threes, it's worth it. Okay? I don't know why, Bulls fans are like very hesitant on that, and Stacey King's very hesitant on that idea. We need to be shooting at the bare minimum 33s a game. I would like to get up to 35 to 40. But I'm not the coach. So here's what it is. Philippa, good to see ya. Big dub. Yeah, just said in the third quarter, Lillard went out and the Bulls went on a huge run. It was a big run sparked mostly by Ayo Dosunmu. Ayo Dosunmu hit 3 threes in a matter of, I think, a minute and a half. And that was huge. That really got the Bulls back into it. And then it was him and Zach. I think they scored like 18 straight points just between the two of those guys. And again, it just that little stretch where, again, it was DeRozan and Vucevic were off the floor. It was the guard positions were Ayo, Kobe, Levine, and I believe it was Derrick Jones Jr. out there, or Patrick Williams. I think it was P. Will, and then Drummond. Okay, like that's a lot of just perimeter guys out there, right? That's just a bunch of perimeter dudes. But if Ayo is shooting those threes, if Kobe's shooting those threes, if Zach's shooting those threes, right, and they're all getting downhill and into the paint, analytically that is best. Okay, and now and to add on top of that. That little group can get out on the fast break like no other group on this Bulls team can, right? We're missing Javonte Green, so I think we'd obviously like to have him out there. But those 3 guys between Ayo, Kobe, and Levine, like, those are the 3 guys that are going to be taking off when they get the defensive rebound. And I thought they did just that. We saw all 3 of them get downhill in that third quarter. And again, that's modern day basketball. That's how it's supposed to be played. So I would like to see that combination a little bit more here on out. And also, either, I think Drummond might be getting moved here. There's a guy that I think would fit in this Drummond trade that I'm going to bring up later on stream that would fit into this, more modern day style of basketball, that he would be coming off the bench and I think would fit this whole idea that Billy Donovan wants to run. But if we're gonna have these lineups of of Io, Kobe, Levine, then I want to see Derrick Jones Jr. at that 5, or Andre Drummond at the 5, or P. Will at the 5, because that's gonna get you the most opportunities in transition. And again, I think that they're gonna be the ones taking the correct shots because that's their game, right? What's going on, Noel? Good to see you. Feel like I haven't seen you in a bit, but I also haven't been able to stream that much. I did not watch that Charlotte game, by the way. I am in the middle of a bunch of midterms, and I'm taking a little break from my midterms to do this stream and watch this Bulls game. But I wasn't able to watch the Charlotte game. I did see that Io and Kobe had great games in the Charlotte game, so I'm happy to see them, especially Io, continue that little bit of good run heading into this game. And if Io had found his 3-point shot again, I mean, all of a sudden now that point guard position looks a lot better. Maybe the Bulls will have to go out and get one. But either way, I hope Io continues to shoot well from 3-point range, because that's going to really help this team if he can do so. And it's just going to help his game overall. He shot those threes, by the way, in that third quarter very confidently, and I need to see more of that. No more catch and think from Io. Let's just see you just launch it from 3-point range. If you're wide open, you're very capable of making those shots. And yes, I understand you're shooting 31% from 3-point range on the year, but we see teams that have much worse shooters shoot 5 threes a game, right? Even though they're worse shooters than 31%. This is the reason why I'm like, I think Io can shoot a much higher percentage from 3-point range if he was just allowed to launch more threes. So he shot 4 tonight. That's great. I would like to see you shoot 5 to 7. I want to get you up there, because I think that's overall best for this team. Big thing tonight was obviously Zach LaVine looked a lot more like himself. I know Zach recently in that Charlotte game, he didn't really score too much, and in the previous game he didn't score a lot either. But defensively, he looked really good in that Charlotte game, I heard. I saw in the box score, he kind of, like I believe 3 steals and 2 blocks in that Charlotte game. And I thought that Zach's overall good defense continued tonight, except for the fouls. I think that Zach has also kind of started to fall into this whole category where the Bulls, as a team, they're defending hard, they're playing hard on defense, but they're being too aggressive. And I thought Zach picked up 2 little ticky-tack fouls due to his aggressiveness on defense in the first quarter, and then his foul trouble then led through into the end of the first half. Luckily, Zach didn't pick up a foul for the rest of the game, so he picked up 4 fouls at the start of the first half, but he didn't foul for the rest of the game, so that was good. But biggest thing for me was just watching Zach just look like himself again, scoring-wise. He hit 2 quick threes to open up the game, and then we saw him get downhill, and it looked like he was finishing around the rim again. And I was like, thank God, because his finishing around the rim was kind of becoming a little bit suspect again. And I do think that a lot of it was due to his hand injury, but if his shooting is back and his finishing is back, I'm expecting a little bit better performances from Zach moving forward. But even through the recent little struggle for Zach, I do think that his defense was overall better for this team. He just needs to be less aggressive on the 3-point, or sorry, the fouling. He can't be fouling early in the first quarter like we saw today. So just kind of clean that up, and I think defensively he looks a little bit better than obviously the start of the season. So that will obviously help this Bulls team. I thought overall the big 3 just looked very solid tonight. DeRozan put up his 27 on 10 of 16, and then Vucevic put up 23, 11, and 4. And I thought a lot of Vucevic and DeRozan was in that fourth quarter, so they did a good job down the stretch kind of closing out this game. I thought Vucevic could have had 30 points tonight if he just put up some layups. I thought he passed up on probably 4 layups tonight. I don't know why he passed up on 4 layups tonight. He passed up on 1 early in the first quarter where I made a fantastic dish to him. And then in that exact same possession when Vooch passed it up, Io made another dish to him and he passed it up. So I don't know what that was. And then we saw Vooch in the third quarter pass up on 2 layups, and then we saw Vooch in the fourth quarter also pass up on the layup. So that I don't know what that was with Vooch tonight, but I think he could have easily had 30 if he just put up the layups. But I'll take obviously 23 and 11 from him. So very solid overall game for Vucevic. His 3-point shot was not going down, but most of his work was done inside, right? It was not through the post up. Okay, let's get that out of the way. It was done inside and in the paint off the pick and roll. That's what's most important. And I also like that he got to the free throw line a little bit more than usual with 4 free throw attempts. So good to see that. I do know that Patrick Williams is injured. I know that he kind of got a little roughed up in that Hornets game, and he had to get taken out of the game when that happened. I believe this is calf, if I'm not mistaken. But in this game, I thought defensively he was doing pretty well in Jeremy Grant. I just thought that on offense, he passed up on, I think, like 3 to 4 3-point attempts. The first play of the game, Patrick Williams passed up on a 3-point attempt for a DeMar DeRozan 3-point attempt. Now, if you just want to look at the numbers of that, okay, let's just look at the numbers of something like that decision, okay? Patrick Williams decides that I'm going to turn down a 3-point attempt, which was relatively wide open in my opinion, and we're just going to compare the numbers of that decision by Patrick Williams, but to pass it up for DeMar DeRozan 3-point attempt, okay? Patrick Williams on this season is shooting 41% from 3-point range on 3.6 attempts per game, okay? I want to see this attempt number to go up to 5 to 6, okay? Now, DeMar DeRozan this season, okay, has very rarely made 3-pointers, and this year he is shooting 32% from 3-point range, and I believe a lot of that went up. That number went up due to that Magic game that he had where he hit 5 threes, okay? So, DeMar DeRozan for the season has made a total of 24 threes this year, okay? Patrick Williams for the season, okay? Excuse me. Has made 76 threes this year, right? This just shows you that Patrick Williams passing up on the first possession of the game by passing up that open 3 and throwing it to DeMar DeRozan, he lowered the percentage of that shot going in by 8%, and you went to a guy that has made 24 threes on the season compared to a guy that's made 76. Like, it analytically is just bad. Like, shoot it. You're one of the best 3-point shooters on the squad. Shoot the ball. I don't know what it is about him, and I do appreciate the Bulls' ball movement tonight, and I do think that it was overall a decent pass by Patrick Williams to make the extra pass. But to me, Patrick Williams is a good enough 3-point shooter that he should just be launching that shot. And I understand DeMar DeRozan was relatively open, and you want to have the ball moving, but if you're P. Will, man, you got to understand you're a 41% 3-point shooter. Shoot the ball, please. If you're relatively wide open, just shoot it. This Bulls team can only benefit from you shooting the ball because, again, you're shooting over 40% for 3-point range. Shoot it. So to see only 2 3-point attempts when I think that he could have had easily 8 is a little bit upsetting to me. But again, Bulls won tonight, so I'm not going to be too harsh on him. He did play 31 minutes. 31 minutes tonight, even though he had the injury. But so I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass due to the injury. But I would like to see just a little bit more 3-point attempts moving forward. Because the Bulls can only benefit from him shooting threes. Okay, so Zach obviously took 10 tonight, which if he's online, I want him shooting 10 to 15 easily. At the bare minimum, he should be shooting 8, even if he's not online. So that's right. Io took 4. Right, I would like to see a little bit more, but it's good to see him take 4. Vucevic did not have it going; he took 4. So, I wouldn't mind him shooting 6, maybe 6 to 8, even though he didn't make his first 4. But P. Will, to me, is the biggest culprit here. You got to shoot more. Also, Kobe, I thought could take a few more as well, but I thought Kobe had a pretty good game overall tonight too. So just keep this in mind as we move forward with this Bulls team. As let's get better shots from some of these guys. Now, I'm gonna do something that I think Bulls fans are gonna be upset with me about, which is that I am gonna give some credit to Billy Donovan tonight. Now, I'm not gonna give him a lot of credit though, because I do think, again, a lot of the reasons why this Bulls, defense on Damian Lillard kind of worked tonight was because it shows Portland's weaknesses right now, and they just don't have guys to capitalize off of Lillard's penetration and his and him being blitzed or double teamed by the Bulls. So I'm gonna give Billy some credit for at least changing up the defense when he saw that Lillard was absolutely wrecking the Bulls in that second quarter, right? Lillard had 19 early in the second quarter. Like, it just was ridiculous how well he was scoring early on. So I do appreciate that Billy started to trap him at the half court line. We saw him getting trapped off the pick and roll. But I do think that, again, if Portland just had some better guys just to make some shots, I think Billy's defense doesn't really do much tonight. I think overall my biggest issue was that I saw Billy try to double team with Vucevic most of the time. And to me, that is just not the right decision. And I'm not even talking about double teaming when Lillard's coming off the pick and roll. I just saw Vuce just come over and double him once he passed half court. To me, that's not what the Bulls should be doing. I think what the Bulls should be doing is double teaming with a wing. And so once that double team, if Lillard does happen to pass out of that double team, then that guy is more mobile to go and recover whoever is going to be open on the 3-on-4 break for the Blazers. So to me, that was my biggest issue, was seeing that Vucevic was the dude being used to double team Lillard. I would much rather see a wing or a guard being used to double team Lillard, because then that person is going to be more mobile to recover. But so again, I'm going to give Billy some credit, but I don't know if it was really executed that well. Luckily, though, for the Bulls, it worked. As we saw, again, Josh Hart, if we're not aware, Josh Hart, he missed some very open looks, 0 for 5 from three-point range. Jeremy Grant, 1 for 6, right? The only guy that was able to cash in to me was Anthony Simons, and he had a pretty decent game overall. But that was it, right? It just shows you that Portland's kind of missing some guys. So I again, a little bit of credit for Billy, but overall, not great. I do apologize. I had to pick up my dog here. I am on dog duty here, and they're growling right now. So, damn it. This is Bailey, by the way. All right, be nice. Be nice to each other. All right, let's see here. I see you, Patrick. How you doing? Yep, very good comeback win. Let's see here. Notice early on, second season, Dame flopped to get free throw from a simple tap by Kobe. Oh my God, that little Kobe made a very bad foul. It was a bad foul by Kobe, but for sure Damian Lillard flopped on that one, and I hated that. I also hated the rip through move that the Portland Trailblazers were using early on. That also made me very upset. I hate that call. I think it's a very stupid bailout call. And for some reason, only some players get it. It's not consistent throughout the league. Like, some players get it, other players don't. And I truly don't understand why. I think it's a stupid rule. And I hope that gets changed soon. At least now, like, before you get free throws, at least now you don't. So I hope that either gets changed to be consistent, or it just gets the NBA just takes it out of the game completely. But I don't know. I truly don't think anything's gonna be happening anytime soon with that. Yeah. If I could be a consistent three-point shooter, that's a game changer. Oh, for sure. If I was a consistent three-point shooter, I'm looking at our starting point guard for the future easily. Because in that third quarter, I think it just kind of shows you that Io and Zach, like, they can benefit off each other very well, especially if Io's shooting that three ball with confidence. Because I've always said, I think Zach LaVine, for him to be maximized, he needs that sort of playmaking point guard. And Io overall is like a playmaking guard first, right? He always thinks playmake first. And we saw his playmaking early on in this game where he had 3 assists in the first quarter. Should have had 4 if Vucevic just put up a layup. But we saw also, though, like, these two on the fast break, right? Like, they can be a deadly duo on that fast break, because Io wants to just go at full speed ahead in the fast break, and then Zach on the fast break is also very effective on the wing. And if Zach just had someone just to kind of set him up on that fast break, man, like, it would look so much easier for him. Again, it all matters if Io DeSumo can consistently hit that 3-point shot. I think he can, and if he can, that'd be fantastic. But he obviously still has a ways to go. So I'm not going to say, let's just give up on him immediately right now from being the starting point guard of the future. I do think that I'm going to give him a little bit more time, especially because Lonzo Ball, I don't think is coming back anytime soon. But yeah, I really hope that Io can rise up to the challenge, because recently he has played very well, especially on the offensive end. His defense has always been solid, and I think even tonight, even though Lillard had 40, I thought his defense was a big game changer in that third quarter. So give him credit. But yeah, I hope that he can find that 3-point shot again, because early on in the season it was there. It has not been there throughout the entire season, but so that was a good step in the right direction. This offseason, Bulls should call Steve Kerr for 3-point drills for sure. Yeah, that would be fantastic. But I also think that would be tampering. So I don't think Steve Kerr is going to be available for this Bulls team for 3-point drills. Um, Personally, what I would do, I would call Dirk Nowitzki shooter and our trainer. Obviously, Dirk Nowitzki is retired, so I think the dude has some time on his hands, and just work with him, right? For some of these guys, because I think obviously Dalen Terry needs some work. Patrick Williams, his 3-point shot, I mean, he's shooting 40%. I don't know if he needs any work right now, but Io could definitely use some work as well. So get these guys more comfortable with their 3-point shots so that they're not hesitating at all when they catch it and have a 3-point opportunity. Patrick used his body well, in my opinion, in this game, especially under the basket. I'm actually going to disagree with that just a tad. I did think that Patrick had a big bucket in the late in that fourth quarter where he used his body. I just think he also, though, there were some blown layups by him tonight where I'm used to him finishing, but I'll give him a pass because again he's dealing with a leg issue from that Hornets game, so I don't know if he had his exact full lift tonight. So I'm gonna give him a pass on that. But to me though, what I can't really give him a pass on is the lack of 3-point attempts, where I thought that you had a wide open 3-point attempt and you passed up on it. You got to shoot them, in my opinion. Now BD seems to call for a timeout early as soon as we lost earlier to start bricking. A progress there. Yeah, I am gonna give Billy Donovan a little bit of credit again for calling a timeout when it looked like the Bulls were starting to head in the wrong direction, and not calling a timeout when it's too late, right? That overall it was good, because the Bulls did not get up to get started in that third quarter, and the Blazers didn't create any separation or anything, but Bailey still called a timeout early, right? So that's progress. He needs to do that more though, because I've seen again too many times this year where it's like Billy calls a timeout too late. So if that's progress made, then I'm happy about it, because I don't think Billy's going anywhere. And I think that's just something that Bulls fans are going to have to accept, including myself, which I fully haven't accepted that yet. But I think that's just the way we're going, unfortunately. So we're going to have to see what's going to be happening here on out with Billy and the front office. All right, I want to break down one play here, and then we're going to head into trade talks, okay? I have a lot of trade talks I want to talk about here, because I do think that there is going to be some movement for the Bulls at this deadline. Not significant changes, just some movement that I do think they could be very valuable moves in the long run. So, I do have Epic Pen on this. Yep. All right. So, one play that I have been consistently calling for all season, and I don't know why Billy has not called this play more, but I think it's just an absolute travesty to see that that the Bulls don't use Zach LaVine off ball more. Okay, Zach needs to be used off ball more, in just a general sense. Okay, and I mean this in terms of him coming off some down screens to get some open 3-point opportunities. Okay, so just this right here. We've seen this play before. Typically what this is that Vucevic comes over here and sets a down screen for DeRozan to come up to the top of the key, or for DeRozan to come up and just kind of set up at the elbow area, okay? Which overall, to me, that's an effective play. But instead of DeRozan coming up, you see DeRozan fakes it, and you see DeRozan come on down and set a down screen for Zach, and then Vucevic also sets a down screen for Zach. Zach's just able to come off of this, and this is simple floppy action, okay? And it's just able to come up and just rise from 3-point range at the top of the key, right? Portland defenses very badly, and if Zach's defender is either trailing him too hard or goes under the screen, as I believe Josh Hart did here, this is an easy 3, okay? And again, I understand Zach has had a very up and down year, but in his up and down year, he is shooting 38% from 3-point range. That's a 38% 3-point shooter, and is one of the best shooters in the league. If I can get that shot, do it more, please. And I was so happy to see that early in the ball game. We didn't really see it down the stretch, but just seeing that at the very least, just at least once in the game is good. I want to see it spammed a little bit more. I do think that we actually saw a few more plays of it, in a general sense of where Zach was coming off some down screens. But he didn't get the ball, unfortunately, just kind of how the play developed. So I do think the Bulls kind of ran a few more of these sort of down screens for Zach to come up and get the ball off of a screen, which is, again, it can only help, right? And I'm not necessarily like, yes, Zach's a great 3-point shooter, and Stacey King's going to talk about that all the time. Like, yes, I'm aware Zach LaVine's a great 3-point shooter, but to me, the biggest thing here is that what this does is that this just gives Zach options, right? Because let's say the Portland Trailblazers, they actually kind of defend this all right, where they decide, hey, okay, let's switch Jeremy Grant onto Zach, and then let's have Josh Hart go then onto DeMar DeRozan. Either way, if Portland decides to switch this, Zach's going to have a step on Jeremy Grant then, okay? So if Jeremy Grant decides to switch onto Zach here, Zach is just going to be able to go into the lane, okay? And I would much rather see Zach LaVine with the live dribble, right, decide to drive, right, instead of him bringing it up the court, running the pick and roll, and him dribbling the basketball. Yes, he is overall turnover prone. I don't think he is as turnover prone as Bulls fans make him out to be. If you look at just, again, comparing numbers, like Zach, I believe, is averaging like 2.5 turnovers per game this year, which has just kind of been his career mark for most of his years. It's at 2.5. Okay, that's, to me, that just sounds normal for like an all-star in general. Like, let's just compare this to Jaylen Brown, who is rightfully an all-star this year, and I'm kind of shocked he wasn't in the starters, but he's averaging 3.1, which is career high. Okay, he's also averaging career high in points, but Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, is like a turnover machine right now because his ball handling is not very secure. So, to me, again, Zach is a guy who I think he should be a number 2. 2.5 turnovers just sounds normal, but I do want him to kind of work on some of his ball handling. I do think he has worked on it, but again, though, if a way to limit those turnovers is if the Bulls just run a play like that, which I just showed you, and he has that live dribble just to go right into the lane, that's going to limit his turnovers. So just do it more, please, Billy Donovan. Please just run that play more. It doesn't have to just be for Zach. It could easily also be for Patrick Williams too. But maybe he's not ready for that just yet. All right. Just want to run over that play because I love that play personally. And now I want to bring up the first trade of the day. And I want to hear you Bulls fans kind of talk about it. Give me your overall analysis on it. I do think that here's what I'm going to say right now. I do think that this community overall has been filled with some pretty level-headed people, and I do appreciate that a lot. I'm not a person that just calls people stupid like out openly. I don't do that. But what I am going to say is that recently on Bulls Twitter and a lot of Bulls fans, the lack of IQ is really showing when it comes to NBA trade value. And I'm mostly talking about this Kyrie Irving stuff. I don't know why these Bulls fans that have been calling for a rebuild from the Bulls, suddenly they're the same people that are saying, hey, the Bulls should trade for Kyrie Irving, and they're willing to give up either Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan for Kyrie Irving. And I think that is absolutely ridiculous and stupid. And I'm not afraid to say that I think anyone that thinks that is overall pretty stupid in the sense that they don't know what's happening with the Kyrie Irving situation. Not calling you stupid in general, just I think that when it comes to NBA value, you don't know what you're talking about. And especially when it comes to this Kyrie Irving situation, which I don't think a lot of Bulls fans are aware of his situation. It doesn't look very good from a lot of Bulls fans. But I am not going to start out with this Kyrie Irving stuff. We're going to get into that a little bit later. I want to talk about a trade that was proposed by Steph Noh. Okay, Steph Noh is a writer for Sporting News. He used to cover the Bulls when he was with The Athletic. He still covers the Bulls a lot, but he does a great job of breaking down plays, and he's a guy that I really look up to in terms of NBA content. But let's talk about this trade right here, and it's a very kind of small and simple trade that I think a lot of Bulls fans are not really kind of looking at. But to me, this overall makes a lot of sense from what we're hearing, right? At least what the reports have been is that the Bulls are not looking to make a big move. So at the very least, that tells me that LaVine and DeRozan, they're probably staying. Patrick Williams is probably staying. Maybe Nikola Vucevic is also staying now. But at the very least, LaVine, DeRozan, P. Will, they're probably not getting moved. So these other guys for this Bulls team are the guys that I'm looking at as being guys to potentially go. And I think this trade right here is kind of a good example of how the Bulls can potentially uh, uh, unload one of their kind of contracts that they're not really fond of, or one of the players that they're not really big on, and get some decent value in return that's going to help now and also for the future. So overall, this trade is Andre Drummond, Tony Bradley. The Bulls will be trading those two players for Furkan Korkmaz and Paul Reed. Okay. Um, I think a lot of Bulls fans know who Furkan Korkmaz is just due to the fact that Korkmaz has killed the Bulls in his career. And he is an absolute sniper from 3-point range when he is online. But I don't think a lot of Bulls fans really know who Paul Reed is, but I want to talk about him in just a second. But it is very evident recently that Andre Drummond has been kind of falling out of the rotation. Now, he kind of put himself back in the rotation with that Charlotte game, and then in this game, I also thought he had some good moments as well. But it still looks like that Billy wants to kind of run, in a sense, like a smaller lineup in that second unit and get a little bit more transition opportunities and have a little bit more flexibility to potentially switch everything in that second unit as well. And doing this trade would allow the Bulls, in my opinion, to do so. I know it says that Paul Reed is a small forward in this trade. I'm here to tell you that Paul Reed does not play small forward. He is a big man. He is an overall athletic, mobile big man. So the Bulls would be getting a backup center in this deal in Paul Reed. But obviously the biggest thing here is the Korkmaz contract, right? And him being a 3-point sniper, he can just come on in, and the Bulls obviously need shooting. That's Furkan Korkmaz. So Bulls, I think obviously you do this in terms of value, right? You're trading Drummond for Korkmaz, which to me, I think the Bulls win that. And Korkmaz right now, he's not playing. Okay, he's not really playing much for the 76ers. So they would be willing to give up Korkmaz because they don't really have a spot for him, and they also need backup center help. Drummond is a guy that they've had before, and it has worked with him and Joel Embiid before. So bringing back Drummond, I think, would be something that they'd be very interested in doing so. The other part about this deal, okay, that I think that this is where I think Bulls fans just kind of forget about what happens, right? Like, sure, we can just look at this in terms of value from a Bulls perspective, be like, yeah, Drummond for Korkmaz, I do that. Also, I'm getting Paul Reed, who I think is much better than Tony Bradley, and I would do that as well. But the biggest part about this is that the 76ers have an incentive to do this sort of trade because it saves them $17 million from the tax, okay? In this sort of deal, the Bulls would be taking back most of the money, okay? But in this deal, where the Bulls are not going to be heading into the tax, okay, in this deal, which is, again, good. And also, the 76ers are going to be looking to shed some salary shed some salary to lower the luxury tax bill, okay? So, again, this gets them $17 million out of the tax. And for the 76ers, and the Bulls stay under the tax in this sort of deal, which the Bulls want to do this. They want to stay under the tax this season, obviously. So I don't expect the Bulls go into the tax at all. But this, in terms of for both teams, right? This works out for both teams. Both either stay under the tax or they get money out of the tax. So this to me is just an overall deal that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to bring up Paul Reed here just to kind of show you the type of player that we're getting. He has been, unfortunately, also limited in his minutes this year. As you can see, he is a center and power forward. Okay, he is not a small forward. I don't know why ESPN Trade Machine hasn't listed as a small forward. But here's a guy who is only 23 years old, and he is like that mobile big. He's 6'9", he's 210. And he can just kind of be that mobile big that this Bulls team kind of needs, right? I think also what the biggest thing with this is I think the Bulls look to re-sign Paul Reed, and it would be very cheap. This is then your backup center of the future with this sort of deal, right? And maybe he can develop into something a little bit more. But I think overall, Paul Reed is someone that is not really looked at in this trade at all. I think a lot of Bulls fans be like, oh, who is this guy? He's played in 39 games this year, okay? It's not like he's been only a bench warmer. He's played in a significant amount of games this year. Obviously, it's not a lot of minutes, but he's gotten some decent minutes overall. He's got some decent playing time, and I think he could be the center, like the backup center of the future for this Bulls team. And then obviously with Korkmaz, this guy is just we need shooting, right? And I'm willing to go ahead and just get work on Korkmaz here now, just to help this Bulls team with shooting. He is a guy that is willing just to shoot threes, even if he's not that much, not very open. And I think we just kind of need a guy like that on this Bulls team for now. And I don't think Korkmaz overall is that old either. So I think it's just going to help this Bulls team moving forward. How old is he? He is 25. So again, he's relatively young, right? He's obviously not prospect age, but he's relatively young for a guy that is almost seems like he's been in the league for a while now. So I personally would do this trade if I was AK, and I don't think that this is out of the realm of possibility. I actually think that this trade has been discussed. So I see some opinions in chat. I want to hear more opinions about it, though, in chat. What do you think of this trade? Is it a yay or a nay for you as a Bulls fan? And then I want to hear your reason why. What do you think about the contract? Korkmaz being $5 million doesn't limit who we can bring in. Also, B-Ball Paul is on an expiring contract. So I'm aware that Paul is on an expiring contract, but the Bulls, they're gonna have, he's gonna be a restricted free agent. The Bulls also have his bird rights, so there is no issue with bringing back Paul Reed when it comes to this sort of deal. And also, I think it's just gonna be a very cheap deal in general. So I have full faith that the Bulls be able to bring back Paul Reed easily when it comes to him and his contract. So there should be no issues whatsoever when it comes to bringing him back. This Korkmaz deal with him making $5 million, to me, that does not limit the Bulls at all. We're already looking at this Bulls team next season to be already over the cap, okay? And unless Vucevic is not brought back, unless Kobe's not brought back, and other guys are all released, the Bulls at that point would only have $11 million in cap space. So in general, it doesn't hurt the Bulls to bring in his $5 million. Okay, there's no issues at all with that. Just to kind of show you what Korkmaz is going to be making for the future here. Again, $5 million. It literally just does not mean anything. Okay, so it's not going to limit the Bulls in terms of who they can get. Next offseason is not a season where I'm looking at us having much contracts or salary cap space in general anyway. I'm looking at us to already be over the cap, and just having Furkan Korkmaz, when we're already over the cap makes a lot of sense, right? Whether that's you're going to use him or you're going to trade him later, the contract perfectly kind of fits into that whole idea. If the Bulls are not going to be trading DeRozan or 100% trading Vucevic before the trade deadline, so. The $5 million, it does not eat into the mid-level exception. It does not eat into at all of the biannual exception. So the Bulls still have those two things available. It does not hinder the Bulls' ability to re-sign Ayo Dosunmu, and it will not hinder the Bulls' ability to make any sort of trades. So there should be no issues whatsoever with bringing in Korkmaz's $5.3 million for next season. Okay, this season it doesn't do anything. It doesn't hurt them either. The Bulls are already very close to the tax line anyway. They're barely just squeaking by after this deal, right? So if the Bulls are all about making these little small trades, right? To me, this is a trade that you can do that can significantly help this team. And I think it also helps the 76ers as well. And it also gets some $17 million out of the luxury tax. So just a thought. I brought up Georges Niang in a potential Drummond for Niang swap, but if you actually look, though, Georges Niang is the guy that has actually been playing a lot of minutes for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I don't think the 76ers want to move him right now because they believe that he's too valuable for them, as he's averaging 9 points per game, which is a tie for a career high. He's also averaging 20 minutes per game. So Niang's a guy that looks like they cannot afford to lose, as he's also a very solid three-point shooter. Korkmaz has only played in 25 games this year. He's only shooting 34% from three, but we as Bulls fans know, like when he gets those consistent minutes, he is 100% going to be launching threes. And I'm all for him just taking threes. As you can see here, in the year he played 72 games, he shot 40% from three-point range on 5 attempts. So he's very capable of being a very deadly three-point shooter. but this year he's not playing. So I don't think that's because of him and his lack of ability. I think it's just that the 76ers, their depth is so high, and that they're just playing other guys over him. So, but yeah, I think this is overall, whether you think the Bulls should be rebuilding or whether you think the Bulls should be retooling, I think this just helps in both scenarios. And this helps not only for this season as we get a 3-point shooter and I think a very overall decent backup center, but also helps for the future as Korkmaz is only 25, Paul Reed's only 25. So to me, makes a lot of sense. But that's just my opinion. Not a bad trade. I see it stoppable, so good to see you, by the way. Hope you're doing well. Can we get Thad Young? No. Thaddeus Young, he's not coming to the Bulls. And also, I personally would not want to pay Thaddeus Young or trade for his contract. I believe he's getting paid a decent chunk from the Toronto Raptors. If I'm not mistaken. $8 million? Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think Thaddeus Young is coming back, and he's getting to that point now in terms of age that I'd be a little bit concerned about his play. Raptors are obviously struggling. I don't think Thaddeus Young is at the top of their list of who they're going to try to just trade away. I think they're trying to figure out OG Anunoby trade right now, and maybe the Knicks decide to pull the trigger on that. Rob should be focused on trying to trade DeMar too many times. He says stop the offense. I do think that DeMar recently has not been that great offensively in terms of him slowing down. But yeah, at the end, I'm gonna bring this up one more time for us Bulls fans just kind of look at. Okay, the Bulls as a team. Okay, when it comes to player isolation, okay, the Bulls don't really isolate that often, and this includes DeMar DeRozan. So DeMar DeRozan, he is averaging 1.2 points per possession per isolation, okay? But he isolates only 15% of the time, which is less than Spencer Dinwiddie. It's less than Kevin Durant. It's less than Jason Tatum, right? It's less than Anthony Edwards, okay? It's less than Julius Randle. It's less than a lot of other guys that do isolate a good amount. If you're wondering about Zach, I brought this up, I believe, last stream. Zach also doesn't really isolate very often. He's averaging 1.02 points per possession per isolation. He isolates only 12% of the time, which again is less than Paul Banchero. It's less than, or it's the same as Jalen Brunson. It's less than Russell Westbrook. It's less than Trae Young. It's less than DeJounte Murray. It's less than all these other guys. So the Bulls in general just don't isolate very often. And this also as a team, if you're wondering, in terms of the team isolation and where they stand amongst the others, they're not very high. They're in fact one of the lowest teams in terms of frequency of isolation, which they're all the way down here. But when you look at points per possession, they're up here. So actually, the numbers say the Bulls should isolate more. And I actually don't think that isolating DeMar more is a horrible thing. I just think what's happening right now is that you see the Bulls can't necessarily isolate because of the lack of shooting on this team, and I think that DeMar, unfortunately, what I have an issue with is he slows the game down when I think the Bulls should be pushing pace. That obviously is an isolation, or it's not going to really show up in any of these stats. It's just that he decides to kind of slow the ball down. But I feel like the Bulls should be pushing the pace a little bit more. But other than that, I don't really know what to complain about. Like, a lot of Bulls fans say, wow, we just isolate all the time. We just continue to isolate this and that. And the numbers say otherwise. Like, the Bulls don't isolate. And we're basically on par with the Brooklyn Nets in terms of isolation. And the Brooklyn Nets, they're one of the top teams in isolation per game, as you can see up here. But we are nowhere close to the same frequency of isolation. So I am on that DeMar DeRozan trade train. I will say that. And I'm going to bring up another trade here that's going to show a trade that's going to involve DeMar DeRozan. But the front office, at least for now, is saying no. Which, I think if there's going to be the best time to trade him is now. The second best time to trade him is in the offseason. You can't trade him next year at the trade deadline unless you sign to an extension, which I just don't think is going to raise his value too much. So, yeah, if there's time to trade, it'd be now. It looks like the Bulls front office is not going to do it, though. And, that doesn't completely hinder the Bulls. That's just the way I would personally do it. They could still figure out a way to still be good in 2024 without trading DeRozan now. I just think that the assets you would get for him would be more valuable. But that's their decision for them to figure out. And I'm willing to criticize them on that decision. By the way, I'm not here to say, it was whatever they make is right. I'm gonna be criticizing them if they do a good, if they do a good or bad decision on this DeMar DeRozan deal. So be ready for it. That's all I'm gonna say. Good trade, especially for what we are sending out. Yeah, I mean the Bulls are sending out a backup center who is in and out of the rotation in Andre Drummond, and then also a center that doesn't play. He hasn't played very much at all on Tony Bradley. And then we get a backup center in the future, in my opinion, who is young, at 23 years old. They're gonna re-sign very cheaply, and then Furkan Korkmaz is just a shooter for this season and next season, and potentially longer after that. Again, he's 25. Bulls need shooting, right? Um, I'm aware the Bulls need size, but like I'm getting a backup center in this deal, so I think overall it makes a lot of sense. And I honestly, I'm just gonna say this: I'd be kind of shocked if the Bulls don't make a deal somewhat like that at this trade deadline. But who knows, man? I truly don't know what AK is thinking. How to use Dalen Terry properly this season? Can we? I don't think we can, personally. I don't think Dalen Terry can be used properly this year. And I think this first half, which a lot of Bulls fans have been calling for Dalen Terry to get some burn, like this first half, like Alex Cruz is not playing. Yeah, like I'm fine with Dalen Terry playing, Dalen Terry getting some minutes, and he deserves some minutes. But like this just shows you that the Bulls are not going to be using Dalen Terry correctly when he's going to get minutes for this season, right? He's basically thrusted into a corner and said just to wait there on the offensive end, and defensively he's been used more as a help man than on-ball defender, right? So it just, again, it shows you that the reason why I'm all for sending Dalen Terry to the G League is just so that he can be used and developed into that player that we think he can be down the road, right? I don't want him being used solely and developed only as a three-point shooter or a 3-and-D guy, right? That would be a very, very bad decision by the Bulls. And I think the Bulls front office is aware, like, if we just kept Dalen Terry up here, he would not be able to work on his game and work on his ball handling and work on his pick and roll skills, right? Instead, he'd be only focused on his catch and shoot 3-point shooting and his defense and mostly his help defense, when I think he should be a perimeter defender first. So him going down to the G League, again, is, in my opinion, the best decision so that he can be developed into this player that we think he can be. And I also think it doesn't put a cap on him, right? He's allowed to kind of figure out his game down in the G League, which he cannot do up here, right? So I understand a lot of Bulls fans are pissed about, not having Dalen Terry be played much this season, and I understand he's going to be like the first 18th overall pick in since 1998 or something to get like very few minutes. But I honestly think it's for the best. I truly do. And again, if this works out, okay, I don't want to hear any Bulls fan complain about how the Bulls developed Dalen Terry. If it doesn't work out, you have every right to complain, and I'll be here to say, yeah, the Bulls they messed this one up. But in my opinion, right now, I think the Bulls are doing this correctly, and we're gonna see if it ends up paying off or not. I'm gonna be here to say that I'm willing to bet it's gonna pay off, but who knows? Right now, I'll do it. His trade values too. I'm gonna guess. You're talking about DeRozan unstoppable. Yeah, I would trade DeRozan now. Now here's the thing. In my head, at the very least, I think like DeRozan's trade value is extremely high, especially for teams right now that kind of need that second scorer. DeRozan's value to me seems very high around the league. I could be wrong. I truly could be wrong. I mean, we as NBA fans have just been wrong when Christian Wood got traded for a first-round pick, right? Like that was shocking, right? That was truly shocking when that happened, right? So it honestly could be one of those cases where maybe his value isn't that high, right? We saw Jeremy Grant get traded for one first-round pick from Portland, and I don't think it's like it was kind of ridiculous to kind of see that in the first place. We're like, what? That's it? But maybe that's the value. Now, I understand you'd be like, well, we just saw DeJounte Murray get traded for all these picks, and Rudy Gobert just got traded for a boatload of picks. But, that's off season, right? So I'm not exactly really sure. what DeRozan's value is at the trade deadline, right? Um, and that's kind of where I'm like I'm a little bit maybe his value just isn't that high. He is past 30, right? He's gonna be 34, so it won't be a shock to me if his value is actually lower than we think. In our heads, though, I think it's high, right? And I don't think it's because that we're trying to get value in return for him. I just think that we see the player that he is and what value he can bring to a team, right? But yeah, who knows? But either way, I don't think the Bulls front office is going to be looking to trade DeRozan. So, in general, I'm not going to focus too much on DeRozan. I am going to bring up a trade here. It's going to involve him, but it's going to involve Vucevic as well. But again, I'm not. I just don't think that the DeRozan trade is going to be on the horizon here. As this Bulls team kind of trying to. I don't know what to call it. Is it a retool even if the Bulls don't trade DeRozan, but maybe they trade Vooch? Like I truly don't know. And it'll be interesting to see again what's going to be looked at moving forward for this Bulls team. And I'm going to say it one more time. Like I do think that most of the movement for this Bulls team is going to come in the offseason if there is going to be movement. Obviously, notably, Vucevic is not under contract, so they might have to get a starting center. But to me, a lot of things have to be addressed in the offseason that just can't be addressed at the trade deadline. So if not a lot happens at the trade deadline, and it's just a little minor moves here and there, which I just brought the Korkmaz and Paul trade, right? Yeah, I'd overall be like, hey, you're addressing shooting, and you got a backup big man in replace. To me, that you're doing your job. And I won't be upset at that. All right, we're gonna talk about this trade here. I think you guys can see that. Let me know if it's too small. All right, this trade right here is a big overall trade. Now, this was proposed by Chris Amundsen. I don't know how to say that, but he's also kind of like a well-known Bulls content creator. But basically, he kind of said, all right. Well, if the Bulls are truly about retooling around Zach, which, by the way, if I was the front office, I'm not, rebuilding around Zach. Like, and let me be clear, this doesn't say rebuild or building around Zach. This just says retool around Zach. I've always said, again, like, I've never said to ever build around Zach or to, rebuild around Zach or whatever. I do think that Zach should be a part of your future, but you shouldn't be making decisions based off him, okay? And to me, in this sort of deal, like, this isn't necessarily basing decisions off of him. I think this is just looking at, a way for this Bulls team to kind of reset. But Zach should be a player that you keep to see either you're going to either trade him later down the line, or if you do get that number one, right, he's that perfect number two that can slide right into the number two position. And again, that can fit into any offensive system. He's modern day basketball, right? His game is modern day basketball. He's gonna fit into any system. So, like, I'm not scared about him if he stays here. That suddenly, there's gonna be this big issue with him and some other player. Okay, he's modern day basketball. I think kind of the reason why him and DeRozan aren't necessarily like 100% on the same page is because DeRozan is not modern day basketball. He is straight up mid range, and I think that kind of, throws a big wrench into the offense that is a little bit kind of hard to figure out, especially as the game changes into, more modern day, right? So I think that's kind of the reason why there's been that whole, like, what's going to happen there. Also, they're both, not great defenders, but find any other star, okay? I'm telling you, Zach's going to fit in just fine with that other star. So in this deal, though, This is what we're looking at, okay? The Bulls, we're going to be sending out DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic, okay? This right here is a big, we're sending out a lot, right? We're sending out a big, sorry, I hit my mic. We're sending out a big chunk of our core in this one, okay? Now, what this does here is that this basically reloads the Portland Trailblazers, right? I have liked what Simons has done this year. I'm a big fan of what he has done, but I think it's obviously evident that he is not at all-star level. So getting DeMar DeRozan is probably better for right now if you're Portland Trailblazers, that's what they want to go with, right? If they don't really care about the future and they're all about, right now and this year and next year, then they go with DeRozan, okay? They would also get Nikola Vucevic, and they're sending out Jusuf Nurkic to the San Antonio Spurs. So the Spurs, they would do this to get Anthony Simons, obviously, and then they take on Jusuf Nurkic just to take on the contract, okay? Now for the Bulls, okay, in general, the way I look at this is that Nikola Vucevic has very little trade value, okay? I would honestly, if the Bulls do trade Vucevic, I'd be shocked if they get a first-round pick in return, okay? And I'm talking like a fully guaranteed first-round pick. If anything, it's going to be a heavily protected first-round pick if they get a first-round pick. But if they do trade Vuce, I won't be shocked if it's just, like a fill-in player, maybe a decent young player, and then a second-rounder, okay? In this trade, the way I look at it is that the Bulls are trading Nikola Vucevic for Jakob Poeltl, okay? And to me, that's a huge win. If you're trading Nikola Vucevic for Jakob Poeltl, that's an absolute win. Because again, to me, the value for Nikola Vucevic is low. So the fact that you're getting Jakob Poeltl is huge. That's a big W. Now, DeMar DeRozan. In this sort of deal here, we're basically trading DeMar DeRozan for Josh Hart, Doug McDermott, and then 2025 first-round pick from Portland. But what also happened in this deal is that the Portland pick that we have this year becomes fully guaranteed that we get it, okay? So the 2023 pick from Portland that is lottery protected right now, we get that pick fully guaranteed, so there's no protections on it, and then we get a 2025 pick from Portland. So that means, in my head, that I'm trading DeMar DeRozan for 2 first-round picks, Josh Hart, and Doug McDermott. To me, that sounds pretty good, right? And I think a lot of it is that it's probably because I do like Josh Hart as a player, but the picks obviously they're obviously big too. If anything, I'd like maybe like a Keon Johnson in this sort of deal from the Portland Trailblazers, but if we can't get him, that's fine. Let me hear your thoughts on this trade. Do you like this trade? Do you think we're Bulls giving it too much, or is the Bulls not giving up enough? Who says no in this deal? In my opinion, the team that says no is Portland, because I think that they think that, hey, we're giving up too much here. We're giving up Simons, we're giving up Nurkic, we're giving up 2 first-round picks, and we're getting DeRozan and Vucevic out of this. That, is that too much, right, for just only DeRozan and Vucevic? But let me hear your thoughts on this one. This would be perfect for us if it happens. McDermott, Poeltl, and Hart is such a good return. I overall think McDermott, Poeltl, and Hart is a very solid return. They're besides McDermott, they're relatively young, obviously. McDermott is on the younger side as well, but I'm not looking necessarily at McDermott as like a long-term piece, but he's obviously a sniper from long range, so the Bulls need that. Right. Replace the Blazers with the Raptors, and now we're talking. If I replace the Blazers with the Raptors, then what are we talking about then? A Fred VanVleet trade? Because I don't think that's gonna happen. But we can look into it. Worst part of Vooch having low trade value is that I'm pretty sure he is just in the wrong system here. I hope teams see that. In my opinion, I don't think Vooch is in the wrong system at all. I think he's actually being used correctly. It's so tough because like the Bulls have taken away, right, a good amount of Vooch's post-up touches. In my opinion, in an ideal world, he is not posting up at all. But he, in his world, is going to be like, I need to post up. So I don't know exactly what the ideal system is for Nikola Vucevic. In my head, it's don't post him up at all. He's a pick-and-roll partner. He's a spot-up shooter as a center. And he's also a hub of the offense to be a good passer, okay? But the Bulls, they post him up a little too frequently. They also pick and pop with him a little too frequently, in my opinion. So, I don't know. Maybe he probably is in the wrong system, right? But I think he's going to think he's in the wrong system for the wrong reasons, right? He's probably thinking to himself, I'm not getting enough post-up touches. When in my head, I'm like, you're in the wrong system because you're getting too many post-up touches. So, I don't know exactly which way you want to look at it, but maybe he is in the wrong system. I also just think that he's also, because he's the third option here, like his numbers are lower. And if he is on some other team where he's the first or second option, his numbers are definitely higher. But either way, though, in my opinion, I don't think his trade value. Let's say Vooch is averaging instead 22 points per game and 12. I don't think his trade value goes up that much because he's still again on a 1 year contract, and he's basically a 2 month rental for a team that trades for him, unless he likes that wherever he gets traded to. So that's kind of the reason why I'm like I don't really think Vooch's trade value in general, whether he's having a great season or a bad season, is that high at all, because of his contract situation, and also he's past 30. So that's just the way I look at it. So again, if we're trading Vooch for Jakob Poeltl, that's a win. I think it's a win. Trailblazers say no. That's what also I think. I really like OG. Well, according to what's been reported, if you want OG Anunoby, you got to give up 3 first-round picks, and the Bulls don't have 3 first-round picks to give up. So I don't see that happening. And even if you're going to argue like, well, OG for DeMar DeRozan, I think if that trade is going to go through, the Bulls have to sweeten the deal a little bit, because the Raptors, like, I know OG's in all these trade talks, but like I honestly think they're planning on keeping him, honestly, but who knows? We're really gonna see, and it really shows you that they're not gonna be just trading OG Anunoby for just to trade them, right? They're gonna make sure they get some serious value in return. And if I'm trading DeRozan, I'm saying all right, or if I'm the Bulls, I'll be like, I'll trade him to DeMar DeRozan. They're gonna be like, okay, well, we need more. Like that's how it's gonna work. Okay. And I think for the Bulls that'd just be too much at that point already. Yeah, that's just my opinion at the very least. Sorry, I want to pull up a playlist. Sorry, I don't know why. I'm looking for a specific playlist, and I don't know why it's not popping up. I don't... There you go. Will you trade OG for Pat? It'd be tough for me. If this was last year, I'd say yes. Right now, I'm probably gonna say no. It'd be very tough for me to do that. Maybe a 3-team trade, maybe. I don't think they get 3 first-round picks for OG, so that's what I think. But I also think that there are teams right now that are so desperate because they see how open the standings are right now. Like, let's just take a team like the Grizzlies, okay? And the Grizzlies are a team that are just sitting on picks. Like, they have a boatload of picks that I'm like, you guys got to cash in on these picks at some point, okay? The Grizzlies here, they're like, hey, the Western Conference is as open as it's been in a while, right? We're second right now in the Western Conference. We can trade 3 first-round picks for OG Anunoby. Like, that's a serious upgrade. And I know Dylan Brooks is a good defender, but to me, if they get OG Anunoby, like, their defense just skyrockets again, and I think he's a better player than Dylan Brooks. And here's the crazy thing. I don't even think they need to give up Dylan Brooks in that deal. So, to me, it's like, if I'm Memphis, like, if they truly think that's the move to kind of put him over the top, like, they're going to do it, for sure. So I think a team like Memphis could be a team that'd be willing to do it. And then for some reason, I don't know why, but in my head, I'm thinking like the New York Knicks could be that team where I'm like, they be that team, just they do it, just to make a trade to change things up just because they're the Knicks. And they're like, hey, we got Jalen Brunson, who should probably, you can argue should be an All-Star this year. We got Julius Randle, who's an All-Star this year. Like, if we think that we're that piece away, right? they have picks. They'll trade 3 picks for OG Anunoby. And then we're looking at Brunson, Barrett, OG, Randall, and then Mitchell Robinson. Like that's a very solid starting 5. Do I think it's a championship caliber starting 5? No, unless someone out of that group becomes a superstar. Unfortunately, when I look at that group, I just see a bunch of guys that I think can be all-stars at some point, but I don't think they're guaranteed all-stars. I think Julius Randle is like the most for sure an all-star, but Brunson I think is unfortunately just a borderline all-star. I think Barrett is not an all-star, and then OG, he's also like in a sense borderline all-star, but like it'd be tough to for him to be suddenly averaging 24 points per game, right? So I don't know. I don't think it does anything for the Knicks, but they might be thinking, hey, the East is open, like they're gonna go and do it. I just personally would not do it. That's all I'll say. Yeah, didn't you say Pat could become OG or similar to him? So in my opinion, Patrick Williams is his floor is OG Anunoby. Okay. It's just looking at the body types, the play styles, and how they're progressing in their career. Okay. This to me, it seems like the perfect comparison for Patrick Williams. Okay. So this, I'm gonna say this is Patrick Williams' second year, right? We see the 3-point percentage. We see he's finally averaging double-digit points per game. So second year for OG Anunoby, we're seeing at least an increase in 3-point percentage, but not necessarily double digits in points per game. Third year for OG Anunoby, and this is when he's finally full-time starting, right? We see his 3-point percentage suddenly jump up to 39%, and then his points per game is officially at double digits points per game, right? So if P. Will can just continue on this line, like to me, because he's a good 3-point shooter, the body types are just so similar. Again, 6'7", 232. P. Will is 6'7", 215. Like, it just makes sense that at the bare minimum, Patrick Williams is OG Anunoby at his floor when P. Will reaches his peak. But to me, P. Will has that all-star potential where he can be better than OG Anunoby. I didn't say superstar, though. Like, I think we kind of all think we wish he can be Kawhi Leonard 2.0, but I can at the very least say confidently that I see the all-star potential in P. Will. Not necessarily superstar, but all-star potential in P. Will. And so, to me, at the bare minimum, he needs to turn to OG Anunoby. I think I can get more from P. Will. I think I can get him to average more than whatever OG's career high is right now, which I believe is 17. Yeah, so 17 points per game. I think P. Will can average more. Especially because I do think that P. Will, at least the way that this season's going, his 3-point shot is better than OG's in general. Like, I mean, we see, 2 years of 39% from OG Anunoby, but then, this year and the previous year he's at 36%, right? If P. Will continues to be a 40% 3-point shooter, like, I mean, I think that automatically puts him at much higher potential than OG Anunoby. So, if I'm offered OG Anunoby for Patrick Williams right now, I personally would be like, that's nice, but I'm gonna say no. But I'm gonna tell you right now that the Toronto Raptors are not gonna offer the Bulls OG Anunoby for Patrick Williams. Okay, that is not gonna happen. Again, the Raptors want 3 first-round picks for him, so they're not gonna be like, yeah, we'll take him. No, they're not gonna do that. So, just to me, not happening. So I just want to go back to this trade, and we're gonna end this trade talk about this trade. But I'm with Unstoppable on this trade. I think that the Trailblazers would say no. They're in their heads. They're like, we're giving up Simons, we're giving up Nurkic, we're giving up 2 first-round picks, and Josh Hart, and we're getting DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic. Now, I think that they get the best player out of this deal, right? Like, as much as I love Simons, I do think that DeMar DeRozan is better than Simons. And I would also argue that Nikola Vucevic is better than Jusuf Nurkic currently. But I think that they'd be like, we're giving you too much here. I would like to get a little bit better return. And to me, that's that would be the team that would say no, which is it's rough, but I think that's just how it would end, unfortunately. If I was the Bulls, I'd do this deal, 100%. If I was the Spurs, I do this deal, 100%. But obviously with Portland, if you're gonna do a 3-team trade, you gotta have all 3 teams agree. So, to me, again, Portland would. I agree with Unstoppable. Portland would say no to this deal. And that would unfortunately put an end to that conversation. All right, I want to bring up one trade here that extremely just. I hate the fact that I'm even bringing this up because I just want to put on display the types of crazy crap that I've been seeing on Twitter recently. Okay. Now where I clicked on Zach. Okay. I have been seeing this trade a lot on Twitter. Okay. This trade is a Zach LaVine for Anthony Simons swap. Now, first off, for all you people that want this deal to go through, as you can see, the money doesn't work, and I don't need Spot Trek to tell me that. I already know the money doesn't work. Okay, that is obviously too big of a difference for this money to match. So, in this sort of deal, the Bulls we have to take back something else. In this case, I would hope at the very least I'd be getting Shannon Sharp back, but if that's not the case, then I get Josh Hart back, and then the trade will go through. Okay, but I think that this is a ridiculous trade just in general. Again, I like Simons. Okay, I think he's had a very solid year, and I've been very impressed with his improvement this year. But to me, this just doesn't make any sense if I'm a Bulls fan, and especially if I'm on the retooling route. Okay, because I'm actually seeing a lot of Bulls fans say that they're on the retooling route and they want to do this sort of deal. To me, unfortunately, because Anthony Simons is heading into his 5th year next year, I don't really know if this kind of signals anything. I think, if anything, the signals a rebuild. But Anthony Simons is already, in my opinion, too good of a player to start rebuilding. Okay, if you're gonna trade for Anthony Simons right now, right, and you're like, yeah, we're gonna be rebuilding. Like, Simons is gonna be easily averaging 25 points per game. To me, that's too good of a player to have on a rebuild, especially when you're trying to lose as many as possible. So to me, if I had to choose a side, it would be that he'd be rebuilding. The team would be rebuilding, but I don't know if that's correct. Like, I truly don't know. Now, if we're retooling, I can kind of see the argument here, but if I'm going to be trading Zach LaVine for Anthony Simons, I need more than just Anthony Simons and Josh Hart back. Okay, like I need at least 2 first-round picks, in my opinion, in this sort of deal. But I don't think Portland's going to accept that if I'm throwing in Josh Hart as well, right? So to me, this sort of deal, I hate seeing Bulls fans do this. I'm gonna pull up a tweet that shows you a person that follows me that has been kind of talking about this sort of deal happening, and I'm just like, what? Like, I think you're out of your mind. I understand that, this dude's kind of done with Zach, but if you're trading for just Anthony Simons, just Zach LaVine for Anthony Simons straight up, I would lose my mind if that happened. I need to see more. If Portland's, if I'm going to be doing that trade. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying that I'm not against trading Zach. Like, I'm willing to trade Zach. It's just that I need to get good value in return for him. And right now, I don't think is the best time to trade him because I think his value is lower than usual. And I'm going to be betting that he's going to be playing better. But if you don't believe me that people are tweeting this sort of stuff, here's this. I traded for LaVine in a heartbeat. I don't know why I'm seeing Bulls fans against this. No brainer, in my opinion. What? I was seeing people say they want to trade Zach for Simon straight up. I think that's crazy. I think this person's crazy, personally. I cannot imagine trading Zach LaVine for Anthony Simons straight up. That would be ridiculous. I need to see more. I need picks. Okay, I need more than just Anthony Simons if I'm trading Zach. Okay, I'm absolutely appalled to see that this is even a tweet. But hey, I you know I understand that a lot of Bulls fans aren't exactly like full on like watching other teams and understanding who has value around this league or what the player's value is. But just say here that Zach for Anthony Simons is gonna full out help this team more just because Anthony Simons is younger. I think is straight up ridiculous, and I also think it's bad to assume that Anthony Simons even turns into what Zach LaVine is. Okay, like Anthony Simons, what he has done this year, it is definitely a significant improvement, and I'm very aware of what he has done. But I don't think there's any guarantee with Anthony Simons, and like I understand he's kind of like on his way to getting there, but this dude is averaging 17 shots per game. Okay, he's only averaging 22. Okay, and I'm not saying that Zach LaVine's like that much higher, but at the very least, I know with Zach that like he's what is he averaging? I believe it's 18 shots per game. 18, and I'm getting 23.4. Okay. If I had to choose between Zach LaVine and Anthony Simons this year of who would be an all-star, the person would be Zach, and that's with Zach being having a very rough stretch to start this season and has been up and down this year. Anthony Simons is having a career year. Sure, he could develop more, but again, I don't think that's a full-on guarantee. And I like Simons. Okay, I just think if I'm trading Zach for Anthony Simons, you better be giving us some picks and some maybe a little bit more to help match the contract. So that's just me. I wanted to put that out there because I wanted to show you that I'm not making stuff up what from stuff I see on Twitter. I see this stuff on Twitter all the time, and I keep track of it. Okay, like the amount of stuff that I've been seeing is flat out ridiculous, and I'm very annoyed to see this from Bulls fans, but here we are. This is how Bulls fans like to operate for some reason. And look, I'm not full out calling Aiden stupid, but he needs to rethink some of how much value people have. Okay. I also understand he wants to rebuild, but just as I said earlier, the Bulls, if they trade for Simons, like to me, you can't rebuild because Simons is already too good of a player, right? If you trade for him and you're going to try to rebuild, okay? He's already too good of a player. You can't wait around, right? He's already too developed. So, yeah, makes no sense. Want to point out one more little tidbit here that I was just like, huh? I um unfortunately people think that I'm going to call it the same person actually. Unfortunately people think that the Bulls can just get DeAndre Ayton somehow, like just straight up. And I don't know why Bulls fans think this, okay? Um, but it honestly it really gets my gears turning when I see Bulls fans not really understand like how value works in the NBA, okay? Um, I I'm it, it truly doesn't make sense. Like, sure, would the Bulls trade Nikola Vucevic for DeAndre Ayton? Yes, the Bulls would do that, 100%. Why in the hell would the Phoenix Suns trade DeAndre Ayton for Nikola Vucevic? Like, I need an answer to that. Okay, and it bothers me that I'm seeing that people think, oh yeah, like that makes perfect sense for Phoenix. I'm like, no, it doesn't. And you're not even giving any sort of you're not even getting any sort of explanation of why you think that it's even possible. Okay, I truly just don't understand when it comes to this sort of stuff. That I'm like, where in your mind did you think that was going to work out? Okay. Sorry, I'm still searching for this. I need to get a tissue box here. So, here we go. Here's a tweet. Okay. In this, Lowe talks about Zach LaVine for Nurkic in Anthony Simons trade. Okay, even if I'm getting Houston Nurkic in the Anthony Simons trade for Zach LaVine, I still say no. Houston Nurkic brings no value. Okay, he brings no value. He's having a very down year. He's also getting older. No thanks. It doesn't help. It doesn't sweeten the deal. Okay, and he then says after that, he says Bulls should then try and pull off a Vooch for Ayton deal. Now I'm gonna assume that he doesn't think it's gonna be straight up, but to me there is no deal that the Bulls can do that would get them DeAndre Ayton unless they're throwing in DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic together, and that would hopefully convince the Phoenix Suns to do it. Like, sorry, that this isn't happening. Okay, if you think that a deal centered around Nikola Vucevic is going to get you DeAndre Ayton, you lost your mind. It's not happening. It's not. I don't know what else to tell you. I think honestly, like these sort of tweets these sort of tweets make me just rethinking about Bulls fans. Like I just don't understand. Um, but that's that. I just wanted you guys to see that, just to show you that I think Bulls fans. Look, man, I it's not every Bulls fan. I think you people here that are in my community, I think you're overall you're pretty level headed when it comes to this sort of stuff, and I appreciate that. It's just that when I see these types of people kind of make these sort of comments and then like full out try to back themselves up when they don't really give any evidence, it's like, bro, I can't interact with you, and they want that sort of interaction, and I want to talk to these people, but it's kind of hard to do that when I feel like I'm talking to a wall. Okay. Um, I've also been consistently saying the Bulls should trade Nikola Vucevic for Christian Wood. Now, I think that deal is more likely than a Vucevic for Ayton deal, but I still don't think that deal happens. Like if you're the Dallas Mavericks, why would you do that? Like what why would you make that deal? It makes no sense whatsoever. And here's the thing, I think Christian Wood's getting traded. I just don't think it's going to be traded for Nikola Vucevic. Okay, I think that the Dallas Mavericks could get a lot more in return than Nikola Vucevic in a trade for Christian Wood. So that's just me. When do you think the trade dominoes are going to start to fall? Who makes the first move? So, to me, it's going to be either, as Noel said, when Kyrie gets traded, or the other option is, I think you're going to see trade dominoes fall literally the day of the trade deadline or the night before the trade deadline. This is the reason. The reason why I say that is like unless the Kyrie Irving thing happens soon, which the Clippers apparently they just offered a significant deal. My thing is this. I think this is that year where it's like I can see a lot of moves happening, but it's going to be like these last minute decisions where I'm like, oh, like, or you're gonna see teams be like, okay, we're gonna give that extra pick to get this guy, and then that's gonna push the deal over, right? So to me, it's gonna be either the Kyrie Irving move is gonna happen, or you're gonna see like night before trade deadline, day of trade deadline, where you're gonna see a lot of phone calls be happening, and we might get a bunch of trades in a matter of like a few hours. So it's been a lot of like nothing really happening, and we're like 4 days away now from it all. So just be on the lookout for it. But yeah, I think that you're gonna see a lot more towards when we are like 48 hours, 24 hours away from it, than what you're gonna see these next few days. So yeah. Let's see. I doubt DeAndre would even want to come to Chicago. I don't know if DeAndre would want to come to Chicago. Like I don't know if he would hate the city in a sense. I just don't know if he'd be happy with his role here, right? If like in that sort of deal, I'm just assuming, like, let's say the deal happens, like I'm assuming Zach's still here, and I think DeRozan's still here. So if that's the case, then it's like DeAndre Ayton is then back to being the third option, and he clearly has been having some issues with that. So I don't know. I'm not exactly sure if he'd be satisfied with that. I kind of think he wants a little bit bigger of a role, but yeah, we're gonna see. Uh, big Mark team one out of Phoenix during the summer. Steve owners would be third option. Suns are better constructed. Clippers gonna be okay. So Noel is basically kind of reiterating what I think as well. If DeAndre Ayton came to Chicago, again, if I could do a Vooch for DeAndre Ayton trade, I would 100%. Like even if DeAndre Ayton wants out of Phoenix, even if the Phoenix Suns are looking to trade DeAndre Ayton, why would they accept a DeAndre Ayton for Nikola Vucevic trade? There's no reason for them to do such a thing. There is none. It just doesn't happen. So the Bulls, they'd have to throw in a lot, or a third team has to get involved, right? But thinking that, I just don't know why people think that a Vucevic for DeAndre Ayton trade, or at least something like close to that, is actually feasible. It's not happening, okay? I hope that Bulls fans don't start dreaming of getting some of these big tier trade assets. It's not happening, okay? We have to just come to reality. Like the Bulls, they're not going to be making some major moves at this trade deadline. I would save those for the offseason, okay? But in general, just a DeAndre Ayton for a Vooch trade swap is just, oh boy, you're out of your mind, man, out of your mind. All right, Clippers gonna be insane. So I want to pull up that let's transition to the Kyrie Irving stuff now. I want to pull up that Woj tweet that was released during, I believe, the Bulls game, honestly. So this came up. The LA Clippers have officially emerged as a pursuer of Kyrie Irving. Okay, I think that this is honestly pretty huge news, because I think obviously the big team is the Lakers. Okay, I think that's been kind of like the whole thing has been Kyrie going back and playing with LeBron with the Lakers. The second team, in my opinion, is Dallas. And I think that's been kind of consistent because Luka clearly needs a second guy. The fact that Luka has done everything this year and the Mavs record is what it is crazy to me. Because that Mavs team without Luka is just bad. So no disrespect to Spencer Dinwiddie and what he has done, but it's very evident that Luka needs a second guy, and Kyrie Irving would be really cool with next to Luka Doncic, in my opinion. And if you're wondering, like, well, they both play point guard. Like Kyrie, when James Harden was here, he played shooting guard basically. So to me, Kyrie Irving next to Luka Doncic would fit in just fine. I don't think there'd be any sort of issues with, like, who gets the ball or whatsoever. I think Kyrie would very clearly know that Luka Doncic is the best player and should have the ball most of the time, and then Kyrie, with his great shooting, is relegated to be number 2, which he's already number 2 with Kevin Durant on the Brooklyn Nets. So he know what to do. But this whole talk right now, though, about the LA Clippers potentially trading for Kyrie Irving. So to me, this is very interesting because I think it's kind of evident what's happening right now in Clipper land. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, like, let's be real, I don't know when they're ever going to have a healthy season, and honestly, this might be the healthy season, okay? Kawhi recently has played a lot better, and he's finally starting to look like Kawhi Leonard again, but we all know what can happen with Kawhi, right? He might look like he's doing fine, he might be playing every single game, and suddenly, bam, he's out due to some knee issues, right? That, I think, is unfortunately just kind of where the Clippers are at, and the unfortunate part about it is, like, their roster is very heavily constructed around those two guys, but that roster is also getting older, right? They have some young pieces on that roster that I think are very solid, but that roster, like, it's not just PG and Kawhi getting older, it's the entire roster is getting older, right? So they're running out of time here. So to me, making this deal, if I'm the Clippers, like, if I can make this deal happen without giving up some key assets here, I'm doing it. Like, I think this is 100% worth the risk. Even if Kyrie does not sign to re-sign with the Clippers in the offseason, I think it was worth trying because this might honestly be the Clippers last year. Because I really don't know what's going to be happening with Kawhi and PG moving forward from here on out. Because I'm personally really questioning if they're ever going to be healthy. And again, they look healthy now, so I'd be willing to try. So Woj kind of went through this. Big thing is this, though. Okay, so Kyrie's making $36.9 million. Excuse me. Let's go to the Clippers right now. Let's talk about how they can get Kyrie Irving on their team. Okay. So, if you're not aware, John Wall hasn't had exactly like the greatest time there. I thought when they got John Wall, that was a very solid move, but he hasn't had the best time there. There's been kind of like a lot of stuff going on with that, and it's kind of evident right now that Reggie Jackson is like kind of chosen over John Wall. John Wall's also been injured, so I think this is kind of reason why they're like, hey, maybe we go and do this sort of move here to kind of upgrade our point guard, because they haven't, like, Reggie Jackson's been kind of their PG, but like that's been it, right? Patrick Beverley really isn't a point guard when they had him, so like they haven't really had a point guard necessarily with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard on the roster, right? So to me, it kind of makes sense that they're even thinking about this sort of. So if this deal were to happen, right, in terms of money, the first person I'm thinking about is you're trading Luke Kennard. Okay, you need to use Kennard's contract to help get yourself to start making your way of getting Kyrie Irving here. So trading Luke Kennard is a good start to that process. Now, after that, though, to me is where things get interesting. It's like this is where the Clippers have to kind of make a decision on who they're going to be keeping, who's going to be going. From what I've been hearing is Robert Covington is a guy that I think they're willing to move on from. I do think that Covington has fit in well with them, but if they're going to be choosing between Nick Batum and Robert Covington, I think they're going to choose Nick Batum. I know it kind of sounds crazy, but I think Nick Batum has shown that like his value on the Clippers is just much higher right now than Robert Covington. And again, the Clippers, they play that ridiculous 5-wing lineup, and Nick Batum's a big part of it. Covington is also playing that lineup as well, but I think they kind of have a little bit more leeway when it comes to giving up a guy like Covington compared to a guy giving up a guy like Nick Batum. So I think that would be the guy that they're like, yeah, we're moving on from him. Now, the other person I was kind of thinking about is like, are they willing to give up Marcus Morris Sr.? He's obviously signed to a pretty big deal here, but if they do this, then the money matches, right? I just don't know if they're going to be willing to do such a thing. That's kind of my big question, and does Brooklyn want him? I'm not entirely sure. So to me, then you're throwing in John Wall, right? And this deal would also work out. I just think that the Nets are going to be like, all right, we want something, at least a little bit of something here. So you'd throw in Brandon Boston to kind of help this deal, sweeten the deal a little bit. If you're the Clippers, I honestly think that you have the leverage in this situation, because the Nets, they're trying to get Kyrie off the team. Like, they don't want to lose Kyrie Irving for nothing. They want value in return for Kyrie Irving. So they don't really have much leverage, right? The Nets have no leverage in this sort of scenario. So if you're the Clippers, it's kind of all on you, honestly, right? It's kind of up to you. So this sort of deal, I can kind of see it. If I'm not mistaken, though, the Clippers, the only available pick that they can trade is their 2028 first-round pick. So it's not like there's a lot that they can go ahead and just give the Brooklyn Nets in terms of draft capital. But again, the Brooklyn Nets, they don't have the leverage in this situation, right? They don't have that ability to be like, well, we can just keep Kyrie then if you're not going to trade us that pick. Like, they need to get Kyrie off their team ASAP, right? So this sort of deal, right, I honestly think that this could be enticing to them. Now, the only thing that I'm trying to like consider in my head, okay, if I'm the Clippers, I want to keep Terrence Mann. I think Terrence Mann has grown into a very solid player, and it's just going to be a very, very, very good player for them moving forward. I'm a huge fan of Terrence Mann, and he's clearly gotten a lot of respect from Ty Lue, from the coach. So to me, Terrence Mann is just like, no, that's not happening. if I have to throw in Amir Coffey though, I'm willing to do it if I'm the Clippers. Okay, and I do think Amir Coffey has actually had a very solid season. So, you know, if that means I'm not trading John Wall, right? So be it. If this is the deal that gets it done because the Nets want at least some sort of young players in return, you'll get Amir Coffey and Brandon Boston. There you go. I'm keeping Terrence Mann though, personally. I'm not going to give up Terrence Mann in this sort of scenario. But hey, man, this would be the deal. So I'm going to be very interested in this sort of as this kind of plays out, because at least from what Woj has said and what others have said, it seems like the Clippers have put in a very significant offer, and I just don't know what that is. I want to know what the baseline is, but to me, I think this is what the baseline would be, right? If there would be some sort of deal, it might be a lot, right? But to me, if I'm getting Kyrie Irving, if I'm the LA Clippers, I mean, I'm willing to do this, right? And again, they have to at least send out two significant players due to money reasons, right? So someone similar to Kennard or Covington's contracts, they have to send out two of those guys. I think a guy like Norman Powell is a guy that they're going to try to keep because he's averaging the most points per game off the bench out of any bench players this year so far, I think. So I don't think they're going to be looking to move Norman Powell personally. But yeah, who knows? I think this would be the deal, honestly. Let's see. Morris Brothers reunion. Yeah, that would also be a Morris Brothers reunion. I think Katie would do better alone as long as he has good, solid players around him. So I'm not quite sure about that personally. If Cam Thomas can develop into something good, I would agree with you. My issue is that Ben Simmons has not looked good recently again, and he's been injured, et cetera, et cetera. So, like, if Ben Simmons was playing better, I would agree with you, Noel. But because Ben Simmons is just the definition of inconsistent and not reliable, I don't know if I can agree with you. I think him losing his counterpart or his partner is like his number two guy. Like it's a big hit. Again, if Cam Thomas can develop into that number two guy, yeah. But I don't know. I think KD would kind of want his sidekick with, you know. But that's just me at the very least. Um, I think like a good surrounding cast is nice if you have the star power to do that. KD alone with surrounding cast to me is just not gonna be enough. Um, yeah, so it's crazy, but this next season it's just kind of suddenly went down the drain. I thought winning kind of cured all things, but according to Kyrie, that's not the case. Um, yeah, it is what it is. Would you trade tomorrow for Kyrie? No. I'll get to that in a second here about the Bulls and what I'm seeing on Twitter, but no. And by the way, I'm not trading Zach for Kyrie either. Let's just get that out of the way. Bulls fans, man, they're ridiculous when I hear that. Uh, Kyrie to the Clippers would piss Lakers fans. Oh yes, and just as you said, Cuckler, I would be so here for Kyrie going to the Clippers. 1,000%. I just would love to see that happen. Now, here's the thing. I'm not sure the Clippers win the championship still. Obviously, a lot needs to still happen. Kawhi needs to stay healthy. PG needs to stay healthy. And Kyrie actually has to play, right? But I just think that it'd be an interesting thing to look at. And if you're the Clippers, you're like, hey, we just screwed over the Lakers. Like, that's kind of what the Clippers have been trying to do since they got, or even when they got Kawhi. It's like, we're just going to screw over the Lakers, right? Yeah. Clippers need a better big man than Zubac. So I think Zubac is a very quality starting center. I agree with you, though, that they need a backup. Yeah, I don't know exactly what that is, but I mean, the funny thing is that they've been interested in Isaiah Hartenstein, who they had last year, and then he went to the Knicks. I wanted the Bulls to get Isaiah Hartenstein, so I won't be shocked if that sort of deal kind of happens where he goes back to the Clippers. But yeah, I would agree with you though. The Clippers need a backup big man. I don't know who that is. I obviously the Bulls are Drummond. I don't really see that sort of deal happening though. So yeah, Clippers need to figure out their backup big situation. However, though, as I've said many times, the Clippers, they've been very content on running that 5-wing lineup, right? Like, they're fine going small at that center position. Like they have no hesitancy to do such a thing. So sure they may I would personally want a backup center, right? Maybe not necessarily to play him, but just to have him. But the Clippers are going to be totally fine just going ahead and running that small lineup out there. Just that those that 5 wing combination that they think is very deadly, which in my opinion is a very deadly sort of lineup. I won't lie. All right, changing. All right, now I want to talk about this whole stuff on Twitter right now. Okay. Um, there are Bulls fans right now that are saying that they would trade Zach LaVine for Kyrie Irving. Straight up. Okay. I don't know what Bulls fans that think that way think. Let me just clear this up. Do I think Kyrie Irving's a better player than Zach LaVine? Yes. Do I think that Kyrie Irving is more offensively skilled than Zach LaVine? Yes. Do I think that Kyrie Irving is talented enough to be deserving of a max contract? Yes. I think his talent alone deserves a max contract. But due to the drama that he brings, due to the fact that he does not commit to any sort of situation, and the fact that we don't know if he's going to be actually playing and suiting up for a full entire regular NBA season. To me, there's no way in hell I am trading for Kyrie Irving and then paying him a max contract after doing that. Okay? The Brooklyn Nets don't have to trade for Kyrie Irving, and they try to give him money. All they have to do is just give him a max contract. He's resigning, but they're not doing that, right? They're not giving him a max contract. They're not fully guaranteeing him a max contract. They want to have stipulations in the contract in case he doesn't play, okay? So if Brooklyn's not going to do that, then why the hell would the Bulls give up assets to then try to trade for Kyrie Irving and then pay him a max contract? There's no way in hell that is happening, okay? Bulls fans that think that way are ridiculous, and I'm straight up just confused why Bulls fans think this is going to happen of a Zach LaVine for Kyrie Irving swap or DeMar DeRozan for Kyrie Irving swap. It is ridiculous to think that's even going to happen. And I hope that Bulls fans understand that, but clearly a lot don't. And there's a Bulls Twitter page called Bulls Kick Ass. I apologize for saying that, but there was a poll that they did asking would they trade for Kyrie Irving, and 61% said yes out of the people that voted. I'm shocked that's even that high. So to me, 61% of the people that follow that Twitter account, which by the way I don't follow them, I'm like, what? Like you gotta be kidding me. So it just shows you that a lot of Bulls fans they're desperate for change. And again, I understand a lot of Bulls fans, they hate Zach right now. Like they're full out against Zach. But again, I've said it all season. I am aware that he's had an up and down year. I'm aware he had a slow start. But no matter what, this dude, from what he has done in his previous contract, okay, he deserved a max contract, whether you like it or not. It's the modern day NBA, okay? This is how it's supposed to work. It is the modern day NBA to pay a guy like Zach LaVine the max contract. It's not a super max. He's not getting paid Giannis level money. He's not getting paid Jokic level money. He's getting paid a max contract. So people are saying, well, if the Bulls are stupid enough to pay Zach LaVine a full max contract, then they'll be fully in on paying Kyrie Irving a max contract, right? So, sure, if you think that the Bulls were stupid to do such a thing and pay Zach a max contract, which again, it wasn't stupid, but if you think that was a stupid move, sure, I guess your logic checks out, but again, why would the Bulls do that sort of deal? Casuals, I think most sports fans are casuals, so sure, and look, I don't think a casual is bad. I think casuals are fine. What I don't like is when a casual acts like that they understand everything and they act like they're analysts, they act like they're experts. That's where I get upset, right? Because then they think that they know everything and they start recommending these sort of deals. And the funny thing is too is that they have a big following, right? Because they're a casual fan, and for some reason the casual fan gets a lot more following than like an actual expert. So suddenly, all these people that are following them, they get the engagement, and then that word gets spread around. Makes no sense, but that's the world we live in today, and you know that's fine. But I just would hope that Bulls fans would use their heads a little bit more. Even if you consider yourself a casual fan, I kind of feel like that you would understand that Kyrie Irving recently has not looked very good, right? I am aware he's a very talented player. I think he is the best finisher at the guard position we've ever seen in the NBA, and I also think he's the best ball handler I've ever seen in the NBA. But he has some issues. Like, think about Zach not playing D, wait till they get Kyrie Irving. Oh, yeah. That. Also, this. They say that Zach LaVine isolates too much, that he doesn't pass the ball, that he just plays for himself, that he only looks to isolate and jack up crazy shots. Hey, you want to talk about it? Because if you think that Zach LaVine isolates too much, right? Again, if you think Zach LaVine isolates too much, well, I'm here to tell you this, that Kyrie Irving isolates 20% of the time, and Zach LaVine isolates all the way down here at 12% of the time. Okay? Kyrie Irving isolates more than DeMar DeRozan, and people say that DeMar DeRozan isolates too much. So again, you Bulls fans that want Zach LaVine off your roster due to him being you're saying he's an isolation player, saying that he's a one-way player, saying that he doesn't play any sort of defense, that he puts up crazy shots, has poor shot selection. Oh boy, are you in for a treat? Sure, is Kyrie Irving more talented? Oh, for sure, I fully agree with that. But all these issues that you have with Zach, well, you're gonna have bigger issues with Kyrie Irving, and add on top of the fact that I don't think he's gonna be playing a full season. And when I say full season, I say at the very least he plays 65 games. Okay, I'm not even expecting all 82 because he is injury prone. I don't think we're getting 65 games out of Kyrie Irving in a season. And maybe it is this year. I'm not even sure what he's on pace for this year. But either way, I don't think that he's going to be playing 65 games consistently if he signs to a max contract. No shot. And here's the thing. If you think that that's a Kyrie Irving issue, right, when I say something like that, listen. That's not a Kyrie Irving issue only. If an all-star caliber player is available, but you know that they're not going to be able to play more than half the season, what do? You don't pay them, right? That's the rule for all all-stars, okay? Or all players that have all-star potential, but they can't stay healthy. If the Bulls are going to be like, yeah, Lonzo Ball is very talented and he is worth $20 million a year after his contract's up, you're not going to be paying Lonzo Ball $20 million a year again, even though he's very talented. Reason why? Because he's not going to be playing that many games, right? Hell, I would not want the Bulls to even try to re-sign Lonzo Ball at this point. So, I truly hope that Bulls fans start to kind of figure this out. But again, as I said in the last stream, I think that Bulls fans are stuck in the 90s and they see numbers and they're like, oh my god, that's so much money. When, in comparison, it's what, a lot of players were making back in the day, but it's just the same amount of the salary cap, but bigger numbers. Inflation happens. Also, I think that Jerry Reinsdorf has legit groomed Bulls fans to think cheaply. Okay? We complain about Jerry Reinsdorf being cheap. Well, don't act cheap then, if you're a Bulls fan. Do you think Kyrie Irving will end up on the Lakers? Patrick, I think he's going to the Clippers right now. If I had to guess right now, he'd be going to the Clippers because of what's been recently reported. I think the Clippers have the best offer. Zach for OG and Trent, do you think something like that's possible? I don't think. Crazy thing is, I don't know if the Raptors say yes to that. I personally would not say yes to that as a Bulls fan. I don't I don't think that's worth it. But I think the Raptors also say no, because I think that they just value OG at this extremely high level that I think is utterly ridiculous. If you're going to get Kyrie, just expect you're going to get a lot of drama as well. For sure. And not just drama, by the way, but also, like, he may not play games, right? You have to expect that he might not be suiting up for more than half your games that year, right? Bit of a safer trade. What do you think of Monte Morris? Good shooter, and would add some playmaking to the starting lineup. Would be pretty affordable too. Oh, I'd be down for it. Yeah. A guy like Monte Morris is a very solid player. He's on the Wizards right now. Yeah, I'd be totally down for it. Again, though, it's like I think the issue is how does he get here? Sorry, I want to change this. Yeah, the ownership won't hurt. I don't even know when that's possible. I don't even know either, Patrick. I'm in my head. The Reinsdorfs are just owning the Bulls until we're in our 60s, Patrick. Like we're stuck with the Reinsdorfs for forever. Jerry Reinsdorf, he's getting older, but it's just gonna go to Michael. So I just don't know. Okay, so Protos, for your Monte Morris trade idea. My issue is that I just don't know how the sort of deal could happen, right? The obvious answer is that you trade Kobe White. If you trade Kobe White, you can easily just get Monte Morris straight up, which I think if you're the Washington Wizards, you're like, yeah, we'd do this. If I'm the Bulls, I'm not exactly sure if I'd do this, but it's a possibility. I'm not sure. I think part of me it's like, yeah, maybe it's worth it because Kobe might not be coming back, right? But I'm also like, we need Kobe shooting, which it's crazy because like the eye test for Kobe White has said that like he's had obviously a much better year, but you actually look at the numbers, like his numbers are not good. He's shooting, so obviously career low in points. It's a career low in minutes. So I'm like, I'm willing to give that, but like everything else, it's like, you know, career low from the free throw line. His field goal percentage is at the career low, second career low, which is already like not in general shooting well, but it's not great. And the 3-point percentage is all right. I just would like to see more threes from him, I guess. But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think that how old's Monte Morris? Isn't Monte Morris close to his 30s at this point? He is 27. Okay, he's younger than I thought. You know what? If it's a Kobe White for Monte Morris deal, I'd be willing to say yes. I'd be willing to go ahead and do it. I do agree with you, Protos, that Monte Morris would add some playmaking. He's also a very solid shooter. Defensively, I also think he's not horrible. Not saying he's great, but yeah, I wouldn't mind this at all. And biggest thing for me is obviously his 3-point percentage, you know, this year is looked very solid. He's been a very consistent shooter overall. He doesn't take as many threes, but I think he's done a pretty good job in multiple roles for the Nuggets and the Wizards, right? He's come off the bench, he's started. He's been just a very solid player. So yeah, I'd be willing to go ahead and do it. And the reason why I'd say yes is because, well, let's look at this actually. I just think that Monte Morris is going to be cheaper overall moving forward, right? Thinking what, $9 million this year? So we'd have him under contract for next year, which is already a plus. Instead of having to go through the whole Kobe White situation, and then
I think re-signing him, it's going to be a very similar amount of money, which I think with Kobe, he's going to be wanting close to, at the bare minimum, to start $12 million in his new contract annually. Probably more than that, honestly, because he's a young player that uh, maybe a young team is looking to take a risk on, and so they'd be willing to kind of give up a lot of assets for him. So, uh, yeah, you know what, Protos, I'd be willing to do that sort of trade. If Kobe's just too much though, then I just don't know how else you do make this work. Because I think Derrick Jones Jr. has played it well enough where you can't trade him, and it looks like you can't trade him in the first place. So that's not happening. And obviously, if you're not trading Alex Caruso, P. Will, Lonzo Ball for Monte Morris, okay? And when I say Lonzo Ball, no one's taking Lonzo Ball's contract. That's what I mean. So Drummond, which the Wizards have no interest in taking Drummond, by the way. There's no reason for them to do such a thing. It would be Goran Dragic, Tony Bradley. Like even this, I think if you guaranteed Bradley's money, it would work. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Where's Tony? Yeah, so maybe that will work, but again, why would Washington do that? So if it's a Kobe for Monte Morris swap, you know what? I'd be willing to do it. But I think that's honestly the only deal that works. So I don't know if Washington is willing to do that though. I think Washington, they're actually looking to not do something like that because they'd have to pay Kobe immediately. But who knows? I could be wrong. They might be like, well, maybe we can just get Monte's money off the books. So maybe that'd be their incentive. So yeah. All right. I'll pay for the Bulls for $20 ticket or leave it. You know what? Good luck with that, Cucklord. I just know Jerry Reinsdorf would just look at you ridiculously and be like, okay, and just walk away. I suggest that deal because Toronto seems to want to keep Pascal, so they're trying to win now, and adding Zach would be an upgrade over their development players like OG and Trent. So yeah, I would agree with you in that scenario, but I think if they're going to be trying to win now, there'd be no reason for them to trade OG Anunoby because he's 25 years old and he's a win now player. So I would agree with you with Trent where they'd be willing to very much move on from Trent, but if I'm the Bulls, I'm not trading Zach LaVine for Gary Trent Jr. And even if I'm getting first round picks for Zach, like multiple first round picks from the Raptors in that deal, I'm still not accepting that. I would need a little bit more in terms of players. Gary Trent's nice. I like him as a player, but I would like a little bit more. So I don't know what that would be from Toronto, honestly. But, obviously, you're not getting Scotty Barnes, so I don't know. I just think that I'll put it this way: if they're trying to win now and keep Pascal, it would be dumb of them to include OG Anunoby, right? There's no reason for them to include OG Anunoby if they're trying to win now. They would include Gary Trent Jr. because very obviously he's younger, but also he's a prime trade candidate. But yeah. You think we might get Fred VanVleet? I don't think so. I think Fred VanVleet is most likely what's going to happen right now, at least from what I'm thinking. I don't really see a team going after a guy like Fred VanVleet right now, unless maybe you're the Miami Heat. So, in my head, I'm thinking Fred VanVleet's just going to play out the rest of his contract in Toronto, which is the end of this year, and then he's going to decline his player option and then go into free agency and see what he can get. I think that's what's going to happen instead. Yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. How about Pascal? Would you do it? If it's a Zach for Pascal swap, yeah, I would do that. But that's like I'm not adding any more. It would just be a Pascal for Zach swap. That's it. Obviously, the ideal situation is that you have both Pascal and Zach. I think that's more ideal. And I think that's honestly a foundation for a winning team, like a championship caliber team. Is if you have Pascal and Zach. Pascal's your number one, Zach's your number two. That's a to me that's the foundation for a winning team. But yeah, if you're asking me if I can only have one, I choose Pascal. Hence, then I'd be willing to trade Zach for Pascal Siakam straight up. But I don't know if the Raptors would do that. Kobe's won me over with his effort this year. It's still only 22. If Kobe's the only real option for Monte trade, then probably not. Yeah. So again, I do it because I think Monte could help us in the future and now. Like I'm not just doing it just to help us now. Like I think Monte Morris can help us in the future as well. And he's also I think going to be cheaper than Kobe White. That's the only reason why I do it. Now if the Bulls front office thinks that Kobe White's potential is higher though, and they're willing to pay him that money, then you keep Kobe because yes, as you said, he is younger and he has obviously worked on a lot of things. It's just the thing is though, as I bring up that like we as Bulls fans say, oh he's improved this year, but the numbers really don't say that. The numbers are kind of from him this year. Again, he is getting less minutes per game. I'm aware, but still though, it's not like there's any astronomical thing in the numbers that says that he's really improved. Like the eye test for sure says he's improved. But it's still unfortunately what if you look at the analytics, it's like he's just very replaceable. That's what it says, right? He's just a replacement level type player, which you know, again, if you think that he has higher potential, you keep him or try to keep him. But I would also argue though, it's like if you're looking to keep him, like if you're looking to keep Zach and then you're going to keep Kobe, like he must be really willing to accept that 6-man role because I don't know how him and Zach can coexist next to each other. Like they're very similar play styles, and they both have to play the shooting guard. And I guess Zach can play small forward, but Kobe's too small to play small forward. So, yeah, I just don't know how that would necessarily work. But I don't know. It'd be interesting. Clippers might look at Fred. Oh, I don't know about that. When Clippers actually look at Fred VanVleet. My issue with the whole Fred VanVleet trade, like, I just as with the Raptors with any of their players right now, I just think that the Raptors they're very overvaluing their players for a reason, obviously. So the Clippers are gonna be like, well, we have no draft picks to really give you. We are not gonna give up Terrence Mann. We might give you Amir Coffey, but that's it. Like, they don't really have much to kind of like throw at the Raptors to kind of make them accept that deal. As a Kawhi statement, like sure, but again, I think the Clippers for them, it's like they're thinking to themselves, who's easier to get? To me, the easier person to get is Kyrie. I can give up less to get Kyrie Irving, so I would go ahead and just do that instead, even if it is a risk, because either way, whether you're trading for Kyrie Irving or you're trading for Fred VanVleet, they're both going to hit unrestricted free agency this upcoming summer. So they're both a risk, right? Maybe one is more likely to sign an extension, which would be Fred VanVleet, right? But actually, no, never mind. Fred VanVleet won't sign an extension because Fred VanVleet wants a max, and because of the money he's making right now, he can't get a max sort of contract unless he goes through free agency. So no matter what, both of them are going to go through unrestricted free agency. So to me, right now, if you're the Clippers, you're all in on Kyrie then, because both are going to. It's both players have the same risk of leaving this summer. To me, Kyrie's the better player. So, and here's the thing, I don't think Fred's health is enough for me to be like, yeah, I'll take Fred VanVleet just due to him being healthy, right? I think Fred VanVleet, unfortunately, has had some serious health issues, and I think we're kind of starting to see him kind of wear down in a sense, right? He's played 45 games this year, so, I mean, he's done relatively well in terms of overall play, but 39% from the field is scary. I think we're kind of seeing the minutes start to catch up to him, and it's not just him, it's other players of that Raptors squad. that have played some heavy minutes recently, and I think what's happening is that the minutes are starting to catch up to them, and it's starting to hurt them a little bit. So. All right. I want to take a look around the league and what else happened. I saw there were a lot of games when I started streaming. I just want to see what happened. So I saw that this happened. The Pelicans beat the Lakers. I heard this was a comeback. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard this was a bad loss for the Lakers. So sucks for them. But Pelicans, man, I'm waiting for McCollum, Ingram, and Zion to play together. I don't know if that's like they played very few minutes together this season. I hope they get to do that at some point. Clippers beat the Knicks. So that happened. Bucks beat the Heat. Appreciate that. Wow. Thunder put up 153. Warriors beat the Mavericks. Interesting. Oh, Luka didn't play today. That's why. Okay, Steph, Clay, Gray. Yeah, so Warriors are healthy. Yeah, Mavericks didn't have Luka. They put up a good fight. But this was the game I was mostly interested in, which is Denver versus Atlanta. Jamal Murray at 41. Hello, that's crazy. Let's see here. Atlanta just yet again they seem to lack 3-point shooting. Been one of their issues all season. That's overall kind of huge in the standings. The Bulls have officially moved up to 9th with their win tonight. And now they're trailing Atlanta again, so they're a game behind Atlanta. So Atlanta keep losing. I'd be all for it. Let's see. I don't get why Zach is in all these blow-up talks now. I thought this match cemented him in Chicago if we want to contend 3 years down the road. Assuming we make the play-ins, would you? Bulls. Okay, hold on. Let me answer Patrick's question first. So, yeah. So, first off, Patrick, I don't think the Bulls are going to be blowing it up. I think people are putting Zach in these blow-up talks because the Bulls have struggled this year. They've underachieved, and there's been these reports, quote unquote, of him and DeRozan having issues, which it's like, again, it's not big enough issues where they can't play together. It's more so that they're just trying to figure out how to play with each other. So again, Zach, I don't see him going anywhere. At least for this season. That could change next year, but to me, Zach's here. Again, if I'm trading between Zach and DeRozan, I have to trade one of the two. I'm trading DeRozan. But to me, Zach's going to be here for the upcoming future. And, I think a lot of Bulls fans, they'd be upset at the idea because it's like, are we building around Zach? To me, hopefully you're not. I've always just said that, like, you should not build around Zach. Zach's a piece to the core, right? But he's not a guy you build around. He's a number 2. So, I would hope Bulls fans understand that even though that we don't necessarily have a number 1, that does not mean we just get rid of the number 2 just because. But to me, Zach's gonna be here for a while, at least for the next 3 seasons. He's gonna be here, at least in my head. But things change. Things obviously change. Assuming making the play-in, who would you want to face as ideal matchup for the Bulls? So in my head, it would be Brooklyn, right? Even before this whole Kyrie stuff happened, to me, Brooklyn's the best matchup. But now with the Kyrie stuff happening, it looks like that Brooklyn's going to be stuck around that 4 or 5, maybe 6 seed, right? I don't really see Brooklyn moving up into the top 3 right now. So if the Bulls make the play-in, I would choose the Celtics over the Bucks. I know that the Bulls are 2-0 against the Bucks and 2-2 against the Celtics, but to me, the regular season record does not matter, and facing Giannis first round to me is much scarier than facing Jason Tatum. I'm not trying to disrespect Jason Tatum. That's just how I think it is, unfortunately. Giannis, I don't know if you guys have seen his numbers recently in the past 10 games have looked ridiculous and out of this world. So yeah, I would not want to face Giannis personally. I would much rather face the Celtics. and I don't want to face Embiid because Bulls are literally winless against Joel Embiid. So to me, that's not a good idea either. So answer would be the Celtics. Obviously, none of these matchups are ideal. How much is Vucevic worth for an extension? So, Lee Andrew, with that question, are you asking how much the Bulls would have to pay him for an extension, or how much how much would Vucevic's value rise if the Bulls give him an extension? Pay for extension? All right. So, in my opinion, for the Bulls to re-sign Vooch, okay, if they're gonna give him an extension, let's base off of what just happened with Miles Turner, okay? So Miles Turner just agreed to an extension with the Indiana Pacers. Now, what's important to note is it was a renegotiation. Why won't this show up? Sorry, y'all. Hold on. Okay. So a renegotiation is when you use your remaining cap space and you go ahead and give basically a raise to that player this year. So Miles Turner went from getting $17.5 million to $34.5 million. Don't worry about that. Now, the other 2 years on this extension is $20 million and $19 million. This is for Miles Turner, who has never been an All-Star, who is a very well-known shot blocker in this league, and is overall just a solid player, right? Now, Vucevic this year is making $22 million, okay? Here's his, go on, look, here it is, okay? Base salary, 22. Last year, he made 24. His contract was front-loaded, which is the one he signed with the Magic, so basically his contract went down every single year. So this is the cheapest he's going to be. This is the lowest amount of money he's making in his 4-year contract that he's under. So to me, the reports are that Jakob Poeltl is asking for at least at the bare minimum $18 million come in free agency. Okay. Nikola Vucevic has been an all-star in this league. Nikola Vucevic probably believes that he is better than both Miles Turner and Jakob Poeltl. He also probably is hoping for a bigger role with any team, whether it's the Bulls, whoever it is. Okay. His previous contract, again, is $22 million. He's going to be 33 years old next season. I think with Nikola Vucevic, if you're going to want to resign him, it's going to start at $25 million. Okay. I think that's what he wants. Now, if I'm the Bulls, I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not paying you that. So maybe you can negotiate it down to 23. But to me, that is also kind of scary, right? Ideally, I would like to get him at the $18 million range. If I'm going to give him an extension, it would be at $18 million annually. But I don't think he accepts that. I think that he's looking at Miles Turner and be like, well, he's making 20, and Jakob Poeltl is probably going to ask for 20. I should be making 20 at the very least or more. And I don't think the Bulls are wanting to do that. I think that hinders too much of your cap for a guy that you're not going to really invest long term into. So I don't think they do it. But who knows? I could be completely wrong. AK has been all about continuity and this whole talk about that. We'll see if he looks to resign Vooch, give him an extension, whatever. It just, again, I'll just reiterate, the Bulls and Vucevic have not had talks about an extension. and the trade deadline is coming up fast. He's about to hit unrestricted free agency. I would not like to lose Vucevic for nothing after you traded 2 first-round picks for him. So I just think that at least in my head, it would make sense to trade him. If not, you should re-sign him, um, or give him an extension. Obviously, if it's reasonable. So to me, if Vooch is asking for more than $20 million, it's a no. I'm not doing it. But I think he does. I think he asked for more than $20 million, and to me, that's not worth it. If he asks for $20 million, I'm willing to give him that one extra year where I can sign him for next season and then be willing to then trade him next season or trade him in the off season. That's upcoming. That's upcoming, the 2023 off season. So I'm willing to do that as well, just in case it's like, okay, well, we can't trade him now. We don't want to lose him for nothing. You accept 1 year, $20 million now, so that you're in a contract for next season. I'd be okay with that as well, so that we can look to then move him a little bit later and not just lose him. But that's just me personally. But I think that's the numbers we're looking at. $20 million. If you're the Bulls, maybe accept it. If he asks for more than that, which I think he will, no shot. Yeah. What are your thoughts on the Kings right now? The Kings, man, I'm very impressed with what they've done. I think luckily for them, Phoenix, they lost Devin Booker. The New Orleans Pelicans. Remember when they were fourth, man? Remember when the Pelicans were fourth? They're 1-9 in their last 10. By the way, it looks bad for them. But they're certainly 10th. And obviously Zion being out and Brandon Ingram not being healthy all season has kind of led to that. But I still give credit to the Kings. I've loved what they've done. I think De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis have been playing great. I think Sabonis obviously deserved the All-Star vote or All-Star nod. You can argue De'Aaron Fox should have gotten it as well, but to me, Sabonis should have 100% been in. But I've been loving what Mike Brown has done with the Kings. The thing is, though, is that I think this might be one of those years, unfortunately, where they're gonna be like, we're not gonna make a big move, right? That could potentially put us over the top in a sense. So it kind of sucks if you're a Kings fan, but you just have to be patient. So get the playoff experience, which I think you're gonna make it at this point, whether it is via just standings or playing. But yeah, make sure you make the playoffs and get that experience. Maybe win a first round matchup. But yeah, I've loved what the Kings have done this year. I personally have loved it. I'm happy to really see that they've fully bought into modern style basketball. Like the Kings, they jack up threes. They play fast. They play in transition. They don't post up Sabonis that often. They run the pick and roll with him, right? That's how it's supposed to work. So I truly like what Mike Brown has done in Sacramento. I hope their success continues. All right. I do appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Kind of a little bit abrupt end to the stream, but I need to go take medicine. Did you already talk about the best landing spot for Kyrie? We talked about Kyrie a little bit, Anthony, but my guess right now is that he's going to the Clippers. I think that's overall probably the best spot for both sides, for the team that's trading for him and the for Kyrie. I think that's the best spot. And Woj again. Woj tweeted out Clippers. They're trying. So to me, that's the best place. But do want to say again, thank you guys so much for joining me tonight for the stream. Obviously, the Bulls got a big win against Portland. Trade deadline is coming up, so a lot of talks about that. We're gonna really see what AKA decides to do with the trade deadline. Again, don't expect a lot. I don't really expect much to happen. I expect a few minor moves. I do expect a move to happen, but I expect it to be minor. So not looking for any sort of major moves to happen for this Bulls team, but I do expect a move to actually go down. But Bulls get a big win against Portland. I thought they overall looked pretty good in this one. Big game for the big three. Big game from Io to Sumo as well. And hopefully Io and P will. I know it's like this bowl season is over, kind of sucked, but I'm gonna be looking forward to their progress as we move forward. And if Io really found his 3-point shot again, that'd be fantastic for this Bulls Bulls team moving forward. But that's gonna do it for me, guys, for the stream. If you have not already, I do appreciate if you hit that like button on the stream. If you're new to the channel and like Bulls content, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Bulls play again on Monday, I believe. I'm not going to guarantee a stream for that one just yet. Most likely there will be a stream, but I'm not going to fully guarantee one just yet. But I'll let you guys know in the community tab if a stream is going to be happening or not. But be excited for the trade deadline. I do think I do think a trade's going to happen. Just don't expect DeRozan, Levine, or Vucevic get moved. But think about it as how can that trade, even if it's minor, how can that trade help this Bulls team now and also help for the Bulls team in the future? Let's just think about it that way. Let's frame it that way so that we don't just get all mixed up in, oh, the Bulls screwed up again. They bought in too much into this current core. But that's gonna do it for me, guys. Hope you guys have a good night. And I'll probably see you guys on Monday. Peace, y'all.